580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us here. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Lots to cram in the next 4 hours. We will be talking all things Big 12 football. Paul Myerberg. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo, from offense coordinator Matt Nagy. Rick Peterson stops by. And, of course, it is Thursday. The Kansas City Chiefs play-by-play voice, Mitch Holthus, joins us. We got lots to get to, including the biggest news of the day. Big news of the day. It is...
He has been dying to talk about this.
It's official. It is official that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are in the good old talking stage, ladies and gentlemen. We all remember those stages. You're like, are we a thing? Are we not a thing? We're kind of, seeing if this is going to work. Yep. Even at the ripe old age of 33, some of the most famous people in the world still go through what we all go through. So I got a couple of either ors for you when it comes to the good old Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift situation we got going on here.
When we tell you that Jake has been chomping at the bit to talk about this.
Big news!
Day.
It is big news! It's Taylor Swift's most famous person in the world, maybe.
Okay, I don't know about that.
Who's more famous? Like, for real, like, I'm not, like, that's just a name.
Some K-pop group, probably.
I mean, she's pretty popular everywhere, considering her tour is making stops,
Pope's pretty famous.
K-Pope? So
not K-Pope, K-pop.
Yeah.
And the Pope.
But the fact that we are trying to come up with who's more popular than Taylor Swift, and the answer is the Pope.
I don't know about more popular. That might be Taylor Swift.
She's up there.
I don't remember the last time the Pope sold out a stadium. Although, I don't remember the last time the Pope toured stadiums. Remember when he did that?
Yeah. Oh,
in the 90s? Sold out Mile High Stadium.
Yeah.
That was a different Pope.
That was 2 popes ago.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
I believe that was 2 popes ago.
And he
Pope
went
John
through,
Paul, I think?
the Pope went through Central Park one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pope
But we'll get to a little bit of that. We're going to talk about the good old tackle situation for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not on defense, as in tackling. No, the actual left and right tackles on the offense. We will get to that coming up as well. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. It's real simple, real easy. Hit the subscribe button. Let us know your comments as well. The Chiefs take on what's happening right now in Chicago for the Bears, much to the delight of Brendan Dworzinski.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It is doing a disservice to dumpster fires, what's going on right now.
Yes.
For the Chicago Bears. And when I look at this game, it's either going to be everybody come together, us against the world mentality, or the Chiefs score first, Justin Fields fumbles, Chiefs score, it's 14-0, and it is over. And at that point in time, Chase Claypool is no longer interested in the game. Just not a whole lot going down. So the Chiefs right now have a chance to, step on the throat early in this one.
But all-time under the radar week. Like, no one is talking about the Chiefs this week, which generally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But no one is talking about the Chiefs.
And that's why the spread of this game is 12.5. Matt Verderame said I wouldn't go near this game because of what is occurring right now. Lots going on, but it is a 12.5 point spread. I'm still not going to take the Chiefs in my survivor pick because I'm going to save the Chiefs. But this is a game where, it's not quite like the Colts game last year, because I think the Colts team last year is a little bit better than this Bears team. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
Oh, yeah.
But 12.5 is a large point spread. And any time in the history of the NFL, odds say you ride with the 10-point dog. If you bet over and over and over and over again, you're supposed to ride with the 10-point dog time and time again. Dan, you've crunched the numbers. How good are the Chiefs in double-digit spreads?
So, strictly including the Patrick Mahomes era, 2018 and onward.
Okay.
The Chiefs have been favored as a double-digit favorite 23 times. And before we get into crunching the numbers here, I just want to point out real quick, this is not a gambling segment. This is not us drawing a conclusion as to whether or not you should lay the points or take the points with the Bears this week. If you want to get down on this, you get down on your own time. That's not what we're really talking about here. What we're addressing here is the perception that the Chiefs play with their food.
Just
for lack
try
of a better
to get
term.
a win. Don't really do anything.
Get
Just
a win.
Get out of Dodge.
And get out of Dodge. And there are certain games that we can bring up since Mahomes has been the quarterback in 2018 that certainly fit that bill of games where the Chiefs obviously played it close to the vest and coached differently, made different game theory decisions than they might against better opponents. And that might have kept them from blowing out a team that Las Vegas and the numbers would have suggested that they should have blown out. But there is absolutely that perception. I'm sure you saw some of it on your Twitter timeline. I certainly saw it on mine. The idea that, oh, great, the Chiefs are favored by this much. That probably means they'll end up winning on a last-second field goal. Or, oh, this is going to be such a frustrating Sunday watching them not blow this team out. So that is the perception. Here is the reality. 23 times the Chiefs have been a double-digit favorite. This will be the 10th time they've been favored by 12.5 or more points if the line holds.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
23 times in this, now we're starting a sixth year. That's about 5 times a year on average coming in. The Chiefs in those games, straight up, not worried about the spread, just straight up, when they go into games favored by this much, they're not messing around. They win these games. They are 21-2 in these games. The losses were against the Colts in 2019 and against the Raiders in Vegas in 2020. They haven't lost a game as a double-digit favorite since then. That's 14 straight
Not
up
in
wins.
Vegas, against Vegas.
Yeah, that was a home game? That was an Arrowhead? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because
that
it's
was
at the
the
bus
bus
stadium.
around game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Bad-
I remember Mahomes has not lost on the road in the AFC West.
That's right. Yep. Bad note taking by me in the course of this. But yes, so both times it has happened at home, which is an interesting note. But more often than not, if you're going to be favored by double digits, it's probably because you have home field advantage. So 21-2, 14 consecutive wins straight up in those spots. But how close have the games been relative, again, to the double-digit point spreads? Well, the Chiefs have a losing record against the spread in those games.
And Vegas is so good.
They have covered the spread 10 times. They have failed to cover the spread 12 times, and they've pushed once.
Vegas, man. How good is Vegas? They're so good.
They do what they do for a reason.
The recent trend in the last 2 seasons, it's a dead even split. The Chiefs have been a double-digit favorite 10 times since 2021. They have covered 5 times. They have not covered 5 times, but they've won all 10 of those games. When you look at the games that they have covered, they beat Oakland as a 14.5-point favorite, week 17 of 2018. There's something on the line in that game. They had to win that game to win the AFC West. And they beat fire out of Oakland that game, 35-3. They beat the hell out of Oakland in week 13, 2019. They were 11.5-point favorites, won by 31. They were coming off of a bye. They beat Denver by 20 in a game. They were favored by 10, week 15 that same season. That was the snow game. Remember, I can spin it in anything. That was that game. That was that game for Patrick Mahomes.
That's a baller quote, by the way.
They covered an 11-point spread against the Patriots week 4, 2020, won that game by 16, forced 4 turnovers in that one. They were a 20-point favorite against the Adam Gase Jets in week 8 of 2020. That's one of the largest point spreads you are ever going to see in an NFL game.
And they covered
handily.
And they covered a 20-burger.
They handily
That's
covered.
Hilarious.
They won 35-9 in that game. They were 10-point favorites against Vegas 2021 week 14. They won that game 48-9. Remember, they punted on the opening drive and then scored on their next 7 drives. and the Raiders turned it over 5 times. They were 10-point favorites against Pittsburgh week 16. That was the Christmas weekend, I think, 2021. Won that game easily, 36-10, led 30-0. They were also 12.5-point favorites against Pittsburgh in the divisional round that year. The only time it's happened in the playoffs under Mahomes, and they won that game 42-21, gained nearly 500 yards of offense. Last year, they were 15.5-point favorites against the Rams. That's a game that in people's perception, in their memory, that the Chiefs kind of messed around with, right? Like the Rams had an unserious, what was his name? Bryce Perkins? Was that who started that game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Virginia legend.
Totally unserious offense being run by the Rams in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs covered that 15.5-point spread. They kicked 4 red zone field goals. That's why they didn't win that game like 40-10, because they were kicking a bunch of field goals in the red zone. Mahomes threw a pick in the end zone. That was a frustrating game, but still the dominance that you would expect when you look at the scoreboard. They also covered a 10-point margin against a 10-point spread against Seattle week 16 last year.
In the rain, yep.
That was the cold game, where it might have been the coldest game or one of the coldest games in Arrowhead Stadium history. And they took a 17-point lead, 17-0 lead. And
that was Christmas weekend.
Yes, that was also Christmas weekend. And then everybody kind of throttled back because, again, you couldn't feel your fingers. What about the games in recent memory that people maybe think of when they think about playing with their food, when that's the perception of the Chiefs? Go back to week 16 of 2020. They were an 11-point favorite at home against Atlanta. That was a pretty important game down the stretch for playoff seeding. And they went behind with 4.5 minutes
They needed
left.
a missed field goal at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was driving home from Arkansas.
Mahomes
losing my mind.
Mahomes threw 2 picks in that game, but he threw the winning touchdown with 1:55 to go. That was playing with your food kind of game. They were 10-point favorites against the Giants week 8, 2021. That was a game that was in the middle of what we considered the slump for Mahomes, right? Because they had just gotten worked by the Giants the week before. They played not very well in that game. They turned the ball over twice in Giants territory. Mahomes threw a pick in the end zone, I think on the opening drive of the game. And they were down in the fourth quarter, but they came back and they won that game. Butker kicked a field goal with 1 minute left. They were 11-point favorites against Denver. Final week of 2021. They needed a win and a Tennessee loss for the first round bye. That was the Saturday game on the last weekend of the season. Nick Bolton's fumble return flipped that game because they were trailing most of that game.
That was, I'm calling both games.
Yes. No. That was 2019. This is 2021. When they were playing on Saturday, they were the only Saturday
that's
game.
Right.
And
That's
Nick
right.
Bolton had the fumble return.
Right.
Melvin Gordon fumbled. Bolton took it back. Chiefs took the lead, and
that's correct.
They end up winning that game by 4. That's one of the rare instances in here where it was a double-digit spread on the road. I think that's only happened 3 times where the Chiefs have been double-digit favorites on the road. So, yeah, sometimes it's hard to win on the road. I don't know if that's playing with your food or that's divisional opponent on the road. 2022, the Tennessee game last year. They were 12.5-point favorites against Tennessee last year. Needed overtime to win that game. They outgained Tennessee 499 to 229. I have no idea how that game was close. The Chiefs just it's not like they turned the ball over a bunch. They just couldn't finish drives. They couldn't get into scoring range to score points until late in the fourth quarter when they got the touchdown and the 2-point conversion.
That had kind of the same feel as like the Jags game just last Sunday, like turnovers, shot themselves in the foot, penalties, that type of
thing.
And
that's why they didn't score more. But if you look at the total yardage, that game, that was domination. If you look only at the box score, the Houston game last year, 14.5-point road favorite, needed overtime to win that game. They outgained Houston in that game 502 to 219.
I remember that.
If Pacheco doesn't fumble in a bad spot, if Juju doesn't fumble, I think it was Juju fumbled around midfield or moving into, it was a big play into Houston territory, that game probably doesn't go to overtime. The Chiefs probably cover that spread. So I say all of that to say this. Is perception reality in the sense that the Chiefs don't always cover the big spreads or win by as much as Vegas thinks they're going to when they're favored by this much? Yeah, that happens. But I don't think it's anything about the Chiefs, like personality-wise, where they're quote-unquote playing with their food. Sometimes weird stuff just happens. Sometimes it's you catch a divisional opponent. But there are a lot of instances in here where the Chiefs were a big favorite at home and just put the beating on a team that you would expect, like they did to Seattle last year, like they did to Pittsburgh twice in 2021, like they've done to the Raiders a lot. The Raiders show up on here a lot. They've been double favorites against the Raiders a lot.
I think, to me, looking at all of this info that you've broken down quite extensively, they're going to cover if they don't turn it over. Like that's simply it. If they hold on to the football, if they don't muff punts, if Mahomes doesn't sling it to, throw YOLO balls like he did, against the Jags there when he got frustrated. I semi kind of liked that because, hey, even he gets frustrated. Okay.
Yeah, it happens.
If they don't turn it over, they're going to be just fine. Like that's the thing about the Houston game. And same thing against the Tennessee Titans. Same thing for Denver and all that kind of stuff. Like if they don't self-destruct, they kick the snot out of teams. They're still going to win, but the question is just simply turnovers. And I don't know if that's focus. I don't know if that's, we talk about football luck. If that is, you are not taking a team seriously, but it is all about if they don't fumble this game, because more or less, I don't think Mahomes is going to go all crazy in this one, with mistakes and everything. It just is they just hold on to the football. I think then they'll cover the spread. If turnovers will be the only reason that they won't cover the spread.
I wouldn't go that far because Vegas is smarter than me, and this number is there for a reason where it is. I mean, the Bears are terrible. Like, everything that the Chiefs want to be able to do offensively in this game, they should be able to do. And frankly, they should be able to do it to an unbelievable degree. Right now, the second worst pass defense grade in the NFL, pass rush grade in the NFL, belongs to the Chicago Bears. They are also right in the middle of the pack in terms of their run defense, in terms of their win rate against the run. That's ESPN stat. So at the absolute best, they are mediocre against the run, and they are garbage against the trying to rush the quarterback. Well, the only way you can do anything to Patrick Mahomes is if you rush him generally right up the middle, right into his face. They haven't been able to do that at all through 2 weeks. And theoretically, the Chiefs' offensive line is quite good. In fact, I can tell you this, according to pass rush win rate, the number one pass protecting offensive line in the NFL through 2 weeks is the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, number one in the NFL, and they're number 9, I believe, from Pro Football Focus. I'm looking at a chart right now. The offense should be able to do whatever they want. So I do agree with you in that regard. My biggest question for this game, just in terms of how close is it going to be, is about the defense more than it is about the offense for the Chiefs. And that's mostly because their linebackers are all banged up, with Bolton, who didn't practice today, and Willie Gay nursing an injury as well. I think Justin Fields might run the ball 25 plus times in this game.
Well, if you go with what he said, I'm just going to go back to just letting the game come to me. Well, that means
he's going to bail out of the pocket after one read and run.
And then run.
So
it's
going
to be a lot of backyard football. And I could see that contributing to some frustration throughout the day. If, he picks up a 3rd and long with his legs, or, he's picking up 7-8 yards at a chunk. Cause he's an outstanding athlete and he's capable of doing that. I just don't know that that's going to be sustainable on a broad enough timeline throughout 60 minutes to keep up with what I expect the Chiefs to be able to do on both sides of the trenches. I think that's the biggest advantage, like you laid out, Brendan, is that the Bears in the trenches right now are so far behind where I expect the Chiefs should be. I expect Mahomes to have all day to throw, and I expect Justin Fields to be under pressure, to have the front 4 of the Chiefs in his face, no matter what it is he decides to do.
Whoa, hear me out. Ready? Let's go, Galaxy Brain. What if the Chiefs just rush slightly all together and don't go but 4 yards up the field and just make him throw? Don't really rush and be like, hey.
That old cliche of, well, we want to keep him in the pocket.
No, it's like, hey, you're open. Coach, I'm open. Yeah, there's a reason you're open. Don't shoot the ball. Coach, I'm open. I got this. Yeah, that's what all the coaches say about me when I was outside the 3-point line. Coach, I'm wide open. Yeah, Jake, there's a reason you're wide open. You can't make it.
Well, I think
Just force him to throw it.
The game theory on that is to not the idea of not blitzing Justin Fields, because you think, okay, this is a quarterback who doesn't get it done through the air, doesn't make very quick decisions. Steve Spagnuolo loves to blitz, loves to be creative with that. Oh, the Chiefs are going to bring the noise. Fields' numbers are dramatically worse against four-man pressure than they are against
He gets so many people dropping back.
Blitz pressure. So I think the Chiefs should come out with the expectation that they can win often enough with four-man rush, even maybe some three-man rush stuff, to be able to put a lid on what the Chicago offense can accomplish.
This game essentially comes down to the Chiefs defense you never want to fight a man who has nothing to lose. Well, like Justin Fields running a bunch and making a bunch of wild decisions and like ridiculous coaching moves. What is the worst that could happen for Chicago? You suck? Hey, guess what?
You're expected to.
What do you think you're going to go lower?
Hey, what's the guy that you number one rule in the Jake LeBon who not to fight is what?
Wrestlers.
No, that's number 2.
Okay.
A crazy, desperate person.
Someone with nothing to lose.
If you're crazy and you're desperate, don't fight those people.
Yeah.
Do not. Number 2 is wrestlers. Buddy, check the ear. The ear got a little bit.
Yeah, check the
going.
cauliflower ear.
They got something going on there. You don't want that smoke because they will give it to you. They will give it to you, no question. Lot to get to on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk with Paul Myerberg on all things Big 12 football. Full Contender Edition. One gotta go. Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers, Ravens. What do they all have in common? All 2-0.
Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers, Ravens.
Yeah, one gotta go. I asked the hard-hitting questions, Dan. You guys unleashed a monster with me in this segment.
I'm going to say 49ers because I trust their quarterback the least of the four.
Really? God, they're good.
I don't think you win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. I don't.
No. Super Bowl contender. Like, don't have to win it, just get to the Super Bowl. Like,
I think you're hard pressed to get to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy.
They were 1 win away last year.
Then Brock Purdy's shoulder got turned into brisket on one pass rush. An elbow. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could, like, I know that Lamar Jackson's playoff track record is not spectacular, but if I've got to go win a big game, I would still rather have Lamar Jackson as my quarterback than Brock Purdy as my quarterback.
I think it's, to me, it's between the Cowboys and the Ravens, because I don't know if I can trust Dak in the playoffs. Same as that, I don't know if I can trust because his track record not great, and neither is Lamar Jackson's. So those would be one of the two that I'd have to pick from. I think the 49ers are legit, man.
Vance riding with me in the YouTube comments. He says 49ers because of their quarterback.
Brock Purdy, yeah.
One gotta go. Got the top 4 teams in the AP college football top 25. Which of these do you take the least seriously as a contender for the college football playoff? One of these teams gotta go. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Florida State.
It's either Texas or Florida State, obviously. And
Georgia and Michigan have not been convincing today.
Yeah.
I don't share.
No.
I share your lack of long-term doubt there. But I think you could argue, hey, Georgia's quarterback hadn't looked great. Hey, why isn't Michigan killing these teams that they should have beaten by 50 points?
It's either Florida State or Texas. And to be honest with you, this is like the Spider-Man meme looking at each other going, oh my gosh, I am you and you are me. Because it's the same thing. They're the same team, because Texas should win the Big 12. Florida State should win the ACC, but yet they play with their food. Like, Florida State barely beat Boston College. So I think Texas is going to do that at some point in time, and they kind of did the first half against Wyoming, to be honest with you. I'll go with Florida State as of now, because I haven't seen Texas fully, look like a 1-year-old with their food.
Here's the thing. I might feel better about Texas and Florida State definitively being the best teams in their league than I do about Michigan or Georgia definitively being the best teams in their league. Like, because with Michigan, you can at least say, well, are they going to beat Ohio State?
Yes.
Like, is Penn State better?
Penn State, I think, is good. I think Penn State's legit.
You think Penn State's better than Ohio State?
I think it's close. I think that is close. That's the best division in all of football. Those three teams.
The SEC.
What about the Big Ten West?
What about the Big Ten West? What about it? It sure is a thing that still exists.
It's a thing
for one more year. But like, Texas does kind of feel like they're head and shoulders above the rest of the Big 12 right now. Like, they've got as good a win as anybody in the country. And Florida State, like, who's going to challenge Florida State in the ACC? Like, I think Clemson already has a conference loss. They look suspect. We'll find out. They play each other on Saturday. We'll find out how they compare. But like, who else is going to like make a run at ACC supremacy? So those two teams, I think, just by virtue of being in leagues that they can win, or leagues where you feel like that's real possible they could go 12-0 easier, then you can see that for Georgia or Michigan. I think you can make the argument for them.
We're going to talk some Big 12 football. What does Paul Myerberg have to say about KU? What about Cats lost to Missouri? We'll recap those games. Take a look at coming up games this Saturday. A lot to get to with Paul Myerberg coming up next.
coaches in that moment would have wanted to score a touchdown. I was opposite.
College football!
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Whoa! I told our players, you need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Unbelievable!
We're back!
The Big 12!
My name is Paul!
Paul Myerberg of USA Today joining us for our Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. You can follow Paul on Twitter at Paul Myerberg, USA Today Sports as well on Twitter. Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. Big weekend coming up. 7 ranked games. That's the most, I think, in USA Today coaches poll history. So it's going to be a good one.
Whoa. Okay. There we
how's that
go.
for a nugget?
I like that. Let's go with ranked games that occurred last week. K-State versus Mizzou. How do you break that one down? Is it not a bad loss for K-State because Missouri might be okay, but the way they lost it, how do you kind of evaluate the Wildcats' loss to the Tigers?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. Let's talk big picture. Big picture doesn't impact anything for Kansas State. The goal all along is get back in the Big 12 championship game, play for and win that game, get back to the New Year's Six. Doesn't change that equation, but I tend to think about things a little more globally, right? This is a game that's going to prevent you from winning 10 games because you're not going 8-1 in Big 12 play. Let's just be serious. So to me, when you win 10 games and you start stacking up together 10-win seasons, 10, 10, 10, 11, 10, it moves you into the sort of real estate that's rarefied. So to me, it's a little bit of a blown opportunity. In the very narrow sense, we identified last week 3 things that Kansas State had to do to win this game. They had to establish the run. They had to move the pocket on third down and win on third down. They had to limit explosive plays. And the last thing to me was the biggest thing because Missouri is not a great offense. You just have to limit big plays. They achieved one of those 3 things. They were very good overall on third down defensively. Running game was MIA. Thank goodness for Will Howard, who played as well, I think, a game as he has played yet. And the lack of tackling and the missed explosive plays and on the defensive side in the passing game is what doomed them. So it's a brutal loss in that respect, and that it should have been won, even against a pretty good Missouri team. It does change the equation of things, but the true test of a good team, guys, and a good program, how you respond to adversity. Kansas State proved last year that they can respond to adversity. This hurts. They'll get better for it. I don't think it changes the equation. I still think they get to the top or near the top of the Big 12, but you can't sugarcoat it. It's a painful loss, especially to Missouri, especially the way it happened.
When it comes to the defense, losing Daniel Green, a big deal. They gave up a lot of explosive plays and kind of coupling that. Central Florida, UCF, sorry, Central Florida fans. I did not mean UCF. I'm sorry. UCF's got some speed. Do you think that is a concern what occurred there at Missouri? And Luther Burden's a different cat. Boy, he can flat out go. But UCF's got some speedsters. How big of a concern is that now for the Cats in your mind?
Yeah, that is the number one concern, is broken plays in the secondary and explosive plays for UCF. We have said together for the last 2 months, UCF can fly. Like K-State fans are going to watch Saturday, and this team can fly. They've got smaller guys on the outside who can absolutely burn. So that's my big concern, UCF has not played a good team yet. Boise State might be good. They haven't proven it yet. But this offense has been rolling. They've been finding explosive plays. They've been getting the ball to their playmakers. Malzahn will always do that with his team. So that's concerning to me. And you add in the fact that you're missing I don't know if you're number 1 defender, certainly your 1 or 1A defender. On the positive side, the offensive line seems healthy. I would like for them to establish a running game. It is a concern, no doubt, that if you let UCF find seams down the field, they're going to burn you and hurt you. The hope is, guys, that they've learned from those mistakes. They've chewed up film and they realize where they need to button it up. But UCF does not have a burden, like you said. They've got 4 or 5 or 6 guys who can really, really hurt you. So it's a prove me game for Kansas State in this defense. I think they respond and I think that they win, but they can't do it alone. The offense has to establish Kansas State football and win the game up front.
How big of a deal would it be if no Will Howard? UCF doesn't have John Reese Plumlee. The backup is a kind of a local kid down in Wichita who's an incredible athlete in Avery Johnson. Don't know how much he can throw it at the college level being a true freshman. How does this impact you, the game for you? It could be backup quarterback versus backup quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I just saw that myself, guys. I don't know if that came out earlier today or just this afternoon that Howard might not play. If Howard doesn't play and you're playing a true freshman, Avery Johnson, by the way, a kid that a lot of people wanted. He's not like you or me getting on the field, so he's got tremendous talent. It's a concern. You can't say it any other way than that. The hope is that Will Howard will play. If he can't, it's because his leg has fallen off or whatever. I mean, you got to get real. This kid's a gamer and a player. But if Avery Johnson plays, you got to play a perfect game in the running game. And you've got to find one or two plays downfield just to loosen it up. So you don't want to throw a kid in a situation at 2-1, at 3-0. Maybe you think a little bit differently. It's going to be tough without Will Howard. I think we need to hold off and see how it plays out in the next 24 or 48 hours. But, we'll find out maybe at 7:59 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night what that story is going to be. Gosh, if they don't have him, it's going to be a totally different equation, no doubt.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is Paul Myerberg of USA Today, covers college football, and joins us on Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk for the Big 12 breakdown. You can check out Paul's work, again, with USA Today Sports, and find him on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, Kansas was a 27.5-point favorite against Nevada in Reno last Saturday and ended up winning by just 7, having to score in the fourth quarter to break a tie and get some stops to win that game by 7. Any long-term concerns coming out of that one, or can you maybe chalk that one up to just a little bit of maybe body clock lag or whatever else you want to say about a week 3 non-conference road trip to the West Coast?
Yeah, I want to give 51% body clock, late start. You're taking Nevada easily because they stink. I want to give 51% of the blame for that. But let's look at one quarter in particular, right? You have an outstanding drive to get things started, a tone-setting drive. And I guarantee you, with 9 minutes left in the first quarter, everyone in Lawrence thought this was going to be a runaway for good reason. You can't have a second quarter, guys, in Big 12 play against any team, West Virginia, Iowa State, Texas, Oklahoma. You cannot have a second quarter like that and expect to beat anybody. And that's the takeaway to me. You cannot play that way, that lazy, that sloppy, make that many mistakes. Jalen Daniels cannot be that careless. He cannot have that many poor pre- and post-snap reads and beat teams in Big 12 play. We're nitpicking over a KU win, right? And we've been doing this together for long enough that we remember that if they had beaten Nevada by a point, 3-2 a couple of years ago, we would have thrown a parade. So it does indicate how things have changed. But that's the takeaway to me. You cannot have a quarter like that. You just can't. And when your back is against the wall as a defense late in the first half, and you know that if you hold them to a field goal even in that final drive for Nevada, it's a different game, and you give up a TD on a short run, whatever it was, 4 or 5 yards out, that's the difference between a 6-6 team and an 8-4 team, or a 5-7 team and a 6-6 team. So that's what needs to be buttoned up. Consistency, pure and simple. And what confused me, guys, is that the offense, despite the final numbers, especially for Daniels, like you look at his final numbers to me and you see a good game, I do not think he's a very good game. He can be better. So I think there's a lot for them to work out and not a lot of time to get it fixed. I still think it's a bowl team. I'm not going to change if they barely beat Nevada, but they got things to button up. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for KU. They might have been, liking what they smelled like after Illinois. This might bring them back down to earth a little bit.
Looking at some other results from week 3 of the Big 12, and I hesitate to start to dig the grave, so to speak, for anybody who has the accomplishments or has accomplished what a coach like Mike Gundy has accomplished. But that loss to South Alabama was so alarming in so many ways. Is the seat warm under Mike Gundy right now in Stillwater? Is that a thing that can be true about a coach who's accomplished what he has accomplished there? Or are we getting to the point where we need to have a conversation about whether he's the guy for them long term moving forward in a college football atmosphere and a college football world that he seems to want to exist outside of?
Yeah, and that's always been Gundy's. And I think you really summed up his worldview with that last thought. He always has existed in the Gundy universe. Everyone else exists in our solar system. He has his own circulatory, planet system that he lives in. This is going to get ugly, guys. And I thought about this a lot this week, and a colleague and I are working on a piece that kind of tries to capture the awkwardness of this. This is an awkward, difficult, potentially ugly situation that could be a dream, right? You are the head coach of your alma mater. You are coaching your son, and he's playing the same position that you played 30 whatever years earlier. That's a dream that I can only think of like on a small handful of coaches who have ever had that happen to them ever. What a dream, right? To share that with your son. It's very quickly going to turn into a nightmare because I believe his son's going to start this week. if they play poorly and he loses again, all of a sudden it's not just about you. It's about your kid under a spotlight. It turns into a nightmare season for Gundy. I don't think he's in danger of losing his job. He has been through so many power struggles, so many fights there with ADs and boosters over the years. He's always come out clean. I think he will dictate when he steps away, okay? But I think this year could get really, really ugly. And if they go 3-9 and they stink, they're the worst team in the Big 12, it does ratchet up the pressure on him to reinvent himself again. He's done it so many times before, but the pressure will really be on him. I don't want to say that he's in trouble, but certainly the pressure is rising on him to prove it. Because, look, this is a new Big 12. Oklahoma State is in position, if they play it right, to be in the top half, top third of this league. To lose that opportunity and allow teams that are newcomers here to step in and steal your thunder, that's a real concern. So I'm worried about Oklahoma State. I'm worried about the direction of this team. And more broadly, I am worried about the direction of the program, even if I do think Gundy will get his time to try and fix it. Whether that takes 2 or 3 years, I don't really know.
Paul Myerberg is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. It's the Big 12 breakdown with the college football writer extraordinaire for USA Today. Paul, a few minutes ago, we were talking about the Kansas Jayhawks. Well, what about the team they're going to play coming up on Saturday? High-profile games, sellout at David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. BYU, who I like Kalani Sitake a lot. I like the way they play football a lot. I think Keaton Slovis is a fine Power 5 quarterback. And they're coming off of a big statement win over Arkansas, 38-31. Although, statistically speaking, you play that game another 10 times, Arkansas might win 9 of them. BYU took advantage of some major Razorback mistakes. What do you make of this BYU team, which has lost a lot of talent over the last couple of years, still has, a good baseline roster? What do you make of this BYU team and what they've done as they enter their first year of Big 12 play?
Yeah, so I don't make a lot of them. And that's not any disrespect towards winning at Arkansas. You win at Arkansas on the road against the SEC West. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I don't want to sugarcoat it. But when I look at this specific matchup, BYU for 2 weeks couldn't shoot straight. And all of a sudden they get into a borderline shootout, a different sort of game with Arkansas. KU wants to play that game. If BYU wants to get into that matchup with KU and they want to run up and down the field, then God bless them. Good luck, because KU is going to put a bomb on you. So I like that matchup for Kansas. Watching BYU win at Arkansas, I still like the matchup, and I like the way this game could flow in their direction. I just want to pump the brakes on BYU. I do like Slovis. I thought he played well enough and has played well enough to be a solid, not an all-conference guy, but a solid starter in this league. But I like this matchup for KU, because if BYU wants to get into the 30s, they want to play that sort of game, all you got to do is not make mistakes. Because like you said, Arkansas should have won that game. Arkansas, I think, took them a little bit lightly. I think they found out late that they were in this game and couldn't recover. But if BYU wants to run up and down with Kansas, they're going to lose. So, yeah, I kind of like what I saw if I'm KU, despite the fact that on paper, geez, they just won at Arkansas. They beat an SEC team on the road, and we should be really, really worried. I don't think that's the case. So I like this game for KU. It's not going to be a blowout in either direction. But if they want to run, KU wants to run. So let's do it. It'll be a track meet, and KU will win by 10, 14, 17 points.
Elsewhere in the league, I was all prepared last week looking ahead to say, all right, previewing Oklahoma at Cincinnati, this will be the first, somewhat really competitive team I think that Oklahoma's going to play, because, Arkansas State is miserable. Tulsa's not all that good. SMU, they messed around a little bit, still won that game by 3 scores. And then Cincinnati comes out and loses to Miami, Ohio for the first time, I think, in my life. They lose to Miami, Ohio in that battle of the state of Ohio. This is less about Oklahoma now, Paul. What is Cincinnati right now? I know your thoughts about Scott Satterfield and that hire. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But that loss felt like a harbinger of maybe not great things to come for the Bearcats.
Yes, definitely. One thing that Cincinnati does well, and Venables mentioned it this week, they are pretty good at stopping the run. They at least have bodies in front that make you concerned that you're going to lose on first down. So I don't think that Oklahoma is going to roll them like they did Tulsa. It's certainly possible. But the leadership is missing at Cincinnati. And I think there's a degree of toughness missing at Cincinnati. And I think Cincinnati of the past, when they played Miami, Ohio, it wasn't just a bloodbath. It was a patsy game. It was a cupcake game. It was a bring your mom and your girlfriend in the stands because you're going to play in the fourth quarter game. It was that kind of matchup. So regardless of the talent on the team, I think there is a coaching aspect of it that's clearly missing, a preparation aspect of it, a leadership aspect that's missing. So I wonder, despite the fact that they still have some dudes on that team, you play Oklahoma and you go down 14-0 in the first quarter, how ugly could it get? How bad could it get? So I do not like where Cincinnati is at. You can't say anything about beating Pittsburgh anymore because Pittsburgh is atrocious, just absolutely atrocious. So that means nothing. You lose to a Miami, Ohio. You're playing an OU team that is obviously very, very hungry with a lot to prove. I don't like Cincinnati at all. You can even say that I hate Cincinnati, not the city. I hate this team. I do not like the way this team plays. I don't like the way they prepare. And I never liked the hire in the first place. And I think through 3 games, people who were doubtful have been definitely proven right.
What about Skyline Chili? What are we at there?
Disgusting. Look, I've had it in Columbus. So you go to Columbus, right? You go to Ohio State and you sit in Urban Meyer's or his old little box of an office and you let him scream at you for an hour. And then you go across the street to this crappy, disgusting place and you get it in these old bowls like you're in the army again and you pour it on the thing. And it's just disgusting. Don't talk to me about it. You already did, but I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Anymore.
I
Never
feel
again.
like I touched a touchy subject.
It's one of the most disgusting things because the pasta's overdone. The pasta's overdone. It's like gooey, gummy pasta with gross chili that's been cooked in the same pot for like 30 years. It's just gross. It's just gross. So there's nothing redeeming at all. And you know what? I said I didn't hate the city. I hate the city too. The city, I hate the team. I hate everything about it.
This brings up an important chili-related question, Paul. So 3 of the members of this crew, of the 3 of us, only Jake is a native Kansan. Dan's lived here for a long time. I've lived here for a long time now. Jake is the only one who grew up here.
Yes.
And he grew up eating cinnamon rolls and chili together, not one on top of the other.
Yeah, you don't take the cinnamon roll and you dip it in the chili, Paul. I'm not a lunatic.
But you
okay?
have them as the 2 key components of the same meal.
Growing up, when we get hot lunches at public school, you got the bowl of chili, and then on the side you ate it with the cinnamon roll.
Would you eat that?
You got that at school lunch?
Yes.
They would serve chili and a cinnamon roll at a school lunch?
Yes.
My God. I got to look at the test scores for poor kids in Kansas elementary schools eating chili and cinnamon rolls in school. No. You can eat those separately. You cannot eat those together. New rule.
Paul, when I covered Nebraska football for 4 years, I lived in Nebraska for 4 years, and that was where I first encountered the chili and cinnamon roll thing. And I thought they were absolutely insane. But they had a point about the runza. So I was willing to kind of explore that maybe they were right about the chili and cinnamon roll thing, but I'm still skeptical.
The last thing
Love
I got
a
to
runza,
get,
by the way. Love a runza.
Paul, we could maybe one of these times in the offseason just talk nothing but, our takes on things.
We do our own Todd's Taste of the Town.
Exactly. All right, last thing. Give me the Heisman winner right now and a team that is under the radar that could maybe make the college football playoff.
Yeah, a Heisman winner right now is not Shedeur Sanders. I think it's Michael Penix. I think if you really look at the numbers and the way that Washington is playing, he's been unbelievably good. And I think Washington against USC, because Colorado's about to drop off the map, I think that is the matchup that's going to be the number 1 QB in the country. So I'll say Michael Penix. A team for the playoff, I'm not going to give you a team for the playoff, but I'm going to give you 2 teams that I think are a lot better than a lot of people think. One is Notre Dame, of all teams. I know that everyone loves Notre Dame, but I think that if they beat Ohio State on Saturday, it's going to show a lot of people what I've been thinking for a couple months. This team is built to get to the playoff. And the other team is Oregon State. Oregon State plays Washington State in the Pac-2 championship this Saturday. They are a tough team. They establish the run. They suffocate you defensively. DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback has been a perfect fit. So if you're a K-State or a KU fan, you get a chance to watch one of these 2 teams on Saturday or in the next couple weeks, please do so, because I think both of these teams are good enough to go 11-1, 10-2, maybe 12-0 if Notre Dame gets lucky on Saturday.
Paul, we appreciate the time as always.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you next week.
Paul Myerberg, USA Today. Love Paul. Fantastic stuff. Terrific. Coming up, we got a lot to get to. We'll talk Chiefs offensive line coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Number 2, 580 Sports Talk coming at you on this Thursday. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Thank you for stopping by. And hit us up with your combinations that you will ride or die with. Unlike Paul Myerberg, not a fan of the chili and cinnamon rolls. Hit us up. Let us know.
He's an East Coast guy.
I will tell you this. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding. I want Paul to come in and we're not even going to talk anything sports. We're just going to talk, things about life, because a East Coast New York guy views it differently. That's why Verderamp, kind of the same situation. He's a New York kind of guy. Whereas, here, the text line and the YouTube, they want to fight Paul. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. I am not going to lie to you. There are a lot of people who said lifelong cans and myself, they go together. It's not my favorite, but it works. I personally prefer cornbread from the text line. Dude, I love me some cornbread. I'm not going to lie to you. Cornbread and chili, fire. Okay?
I want to set the record straight based upon this text from the 316. I don't know if this is necessarily an accusation at me or if it's an accusation at Paul, but it says,
Brendan. I mean, all you non-cans and haters.
Another chili/cinnamon roll hater without trying it. I want to go on record as saying, I am not a hater. I am a skeptic. And that's different. Those are two different things.
I'll eat it. No, I'm cool eating it. I have eaten it.
I'm cool eating it.
No, I'm good with it. Like,
are we gonna adopt you as a Kansan?
I mean, I've been here long enough. I would not put that together on my own, but having had it served to me, like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. I like both these things. You also know my standard is pretty low. Like, if it's edible, I'm at least going to eat some of it. I will also say this, though. This is going to get me killed, and that's fine. I don't like cornbread.
No, that's not like a hot take.
I think my wife disagrees with me on that. I've got a lot of friends who disagree with me on that, but I'd rather just eat regular bread.
I'm a big cornbread.
Yeah, I like cornbread. Hey, ready for this?
Honey?
You guys make
warm cornbread with honey?
I just slop that up with a bunch of butter.
I was going to say, if you're going to give me like a whole stick of butter to put on it, maybe.
I look at it, from, let's go to our YouTube comments, and you can hit us up on our YouTube stream as well. Go to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. This dude is so wrong. Chili and cinnamon rolls is fire. Come on, Paul. That's redneck gourmet dinner. I agree with that. Here's the thing, a lot of it's kind of to each their own. Now, there are a lot of, I've never had Emo's Pizza, where you two apparently have, and you say that stuff is garbage.
Get it out of here.
The worst. Now, St. Louis style pizza. Yeah, watch just some ketchup on some saltines. No, same thing.
With the world's worst cheese.
So much of it is so close knit. Every Washburn player that I've talked to, if they're from St. Louis, I bring it up. And man, they are ride or die. I'm telling you, that's like when I go back, I gotta get it. I gotta get me
syndrome.
Soon.
Yeah, they don't know any better.
And maybe that's it. Maybe I don't know any better with cinnamon rolls and what do you call it? Chili.
Every St. Louisian is threatened with waterboarding unless they say that the pizza is good and that Yadier Molina was the best catcher of all time.
Well, the best catcher of all time, ridiculous.
That's what they think.
No, they don't.
Yes, they
There's
do.
No way.
Do not.
I don't know about that far, but I will tell you, you don't have to go very far to see a lot of, we won when Yachty was here.
It was a running joke on Twitter. People would ask a Cardinals fan, would you trade Yadier Molina for Mike Trout? And the Cardinals fan would be like, no, I wouldn't do that. Yachty's too important.
Okay.
A couple other food takes in here from YouTube. One from Tyler, who says, depends on who made the cornbread. For that particular topic, sweet cornbread is awesome.
Yeah, I like cornbread.
Yeah,
I can see it because it's like, ready for this? My maybe number one hot take, and you guys know I got a lot of them, right? I hate ranch dressing. I think
that's a fine take.
Trash, okay?
Weird.
Ready? I can't stand lasagna.
Yeah, it's a bad take.
Well, no, you don't like lasagna either.
I don't like lasagna. I'm not a lasagna guy.
No, lasagna.
It's like pasta cake. It's unnecessary.
That sounds so freaking good. That's my favorite meal, I think.
It's too much.
Whoa,
God,
we got some from the text line. I don't trust anybody who doesn't get down with cornbread.
Listen.
You got another ranch is gross. Clayton with the ranch is gross take.
Yeah, I
on-
agree with
on
that
the
statement.
YouTube. No,
Ranch is terrible.
Ranch is fine.
No.
It's fine as a dip, like with some uncooked broccoli.
The
I'm
people
good
who
with
put
that.
that on their pizza. Ooh.
There
Yeah,
are
my
some
wife
people
does
who
that.
are
Yeah,
like,
my wife does that too, and I make
really
fun
into
of her all the
ranch?
time.
I think it's gross.
That's a lot.
What?
The people who are like really into ranch, like put it
Yeah.
on everything. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think that's an everything condiment.
It's my backup salad dressing. Like if you don't have Italian dressing, I'll settle for
Oh,
ranch.
I'll eat
That's
any
fine.
dressing non-ranch. Catalina, yes. Dorothy, you bet.
Jake's sitting down at the table, slamming his fists. Give me that Catalina.
No. I'm not. That's not my go-to. I'm saying if you've got, Catalina, Dorothy, Caesar, Italian,
What is
vinegar,
Dorothy?
Dorothy
Lynch,
Lynch.
it's the red salad dressing. You've never been to Nebraska, have you?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
you've never had Dorothy is fire, man. I love Dorothy.
Dorothy salad dressing.
Dorothy Lynch.
Dorothy Lynch.
It is like
It's a French, is what it is. But it's
it
different.
is.
Oh.
It is more Nebraska than the option offense handoff to the fullback. Like the most Nebraska things.
It's not just Nebraska. It's Kansas
are
too.
walk-on offensive linemen, runzas, and Dorothy Lynch salad dressing. Like nothing is more Nebraska than those three things.
It's not just Nebraska,
and also
man.
corn probably too.
It's Midwest, man.
I've never seen it like in a store. Maybe I haven't looked hard
Here?
enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've
it's in
never
my fridge
seen-
right now.
I've never seen this before in my life.
Just I always think of the guy, the big voice guy that does all the Nebraska radio network. Don't forget the Dorothy Lynch.
Yeah, Dorothy, fantastic. Thousand Island honey mustard. Anything. I'll eat a salad dry over put ranch on it.
That's bizarre.
Tyler adds here, Dorothy Lynch is a sauce, not a dressing.
Oh yeah, you can put Dorothy on anything, man. I am team Dorothy. I grew up on Dorothy.
It even says on the label here, home style dressing and condiment.
Yeah.
Love this text from the 785. Ranch is fine. Lasagna is not good. Brendan is on the wrong side of every take.
Interesting. Interesting that you would lie like that. Text line. I love lasagna, man. I would eat
can't
it.
do lasagna.
I would eat it right now. Oh man. Abby makes it, and then there's a bunch of extra, and I can bring it for lunch. Oh, so good. Love lasagna.
Yeah, but yeah, Paul, go. I've never had Skyline chili.
I would
Doesn't sound
try
like
it.
you're missing much.
It looks gross, but I would try it.
I got it. You got it.
Nah,
I've eaten plenty of stuff that looks gross.
You've
man.
got
I can't
try.
do it if it looks gross. I'm a big believer like you eat with your eyes, and if
See-
if the presentation is what you see of it like on the internet, if that's how they hand Skyline chili to you, I'm out.
Here's the thing. I've never had Emo's Pizza, but the next time, what I need to do. So my sister-in-law lives in St. Louis right now. She goes to school. I need to have her bring a pizza back home. But then it's not hot. You got to have it like right out the
They have
gate.
Emos in Kansas City.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Like I need to try because
Yeah.
I always tell my son, you got to try things. And then I don't. I can't do that. I look terrible.
We've got a
I already
texter.
lied to him enough. So I need to. Don't judge me with that. Everyone who's got kids knows
Hell,
that you lie to your kids.
The Emos is actually in KCK.
I need to just try it to see if you both, because you both have had it. I
Yeah.
just don't want to spend my like $20 on a pizza and then it's trash and I'm still hungry and I'm down $20.
A couple summers ago, we were at my wife's grandma's house in Leawood. Okay, big family gathering.
Okay.
There's like 15 people there, and or decided to get pizza for dinner and said, let's get two very different kinds so that everyone can have something they like. So we ordered a couple pizzas from Minsky's. I'm a big Minsky's fan.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't like Minsky's.
Very good. Brought several of those and then got a couple from Emo's. Everybody there was like, wow, why did we buy this pizza? This is
I gotta
bad.
try it myself.
We have a texter from the 785 who says they are from outside St. Louis, but they prefer Chicago deep dish to the St. Louis cardboard style any
See,
day.
This is a man or woman of culture and of real
That's like
understanding
That's like
of-
saying I'd rather eat good steak than saltines. Like, come on,
exactly. Yeah.
Chicago deep dish for St. Louis is a bigger mismatch since me and the first time I shaved my face. Like, come on.
Do we want to get to the massive NFL news that has just broken?
Yeah, it just broke within the last couple minutes.
Massive NFL injury
Yeah, that's
news.
big news.
Trevon Diggs is out for the season.
Looks like a torn ACL.
Start cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, tore his ACL at practice day. MRI's already confirmed the injury, and that's a season ender for one of the best defensive backs in the NFL.
That's tough.
And I don't know how deep they are at DB. You know, like, let's say Trent McDuffie goes down with an ACL tear. At least the Chiefs have got a semi-okay. I don't know the depth of that, you know. But that is a monster loss. Like, if you take Trent McDuffie off this team, that's a big deal.
He's the playmaker in that secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best player in that secondary for sure. Now, they do have decent depth. Jordan Lewis has been around for years. He's okay. He's a fine player.
Stephon Gilmore, probably more famous than good at this stage in his career, but he'll start on the other side. Probably it's him and Lewis will be your starters on the boundaries.
They did just before the end of the end of training camp. They traded to get Noah Igbenogany from the Dolphins, who again is fine. He's fast.
He had a pick 6 in the opener, didn't he?
No, he recovered the block kick.
The block kick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
he
he did score.
He's
He
not
scored a
terrible,
touchdown.
but
He's
I
not
mean,
Stephon Diggs.
There's a difference between, and that's the reason why. If you've got studs on both levels, you've got a phenomenal defensive line, and then the one thing too about Diggs is he's a different type of corner. Like Diggs and McDuffie, you know, compared because the best corner for the Chiefs, best corner. McDuffie is more of the traditional, you know, corner where he's solid, not going to get beat a ton, but he doesn't make plays. Diggs makes plays. Like there's no, and you can do that when your defensive line is just annihilating O linemen and the quarterback gets the YOLO situation and throws it because he's scared for his life after getting hit 10 times. Like there's a different style of corner when it comes to that. You know, Diggs and McDuffie are not remotely related in style of play. I like having Trent McDuffie. You know, he's not going to get you interceptions. He's still searching for his first, but losing that's a big deal for, I mean, that's almost to the point where now, like, because through 2 weeks, the Cowboys and the Eagles, to me, have looked pretty good, and I think the Eagles are going to. I think
the Eagles have been okay.
I think the Eagles are going to be just fine.
Oh, sure. I'm not worried about them long term.
But those two, this might sway me to go with the Eagles in this situation. This is a big loss.
I think the point you made that's probably most important for the Cowboys moving forward is their defensive success is predicated on getting to the quarterback. And when you do affect the quarterback as quickly as Parsons and Lawrence and those guys can affect the quarterback, a lot of times that makes the defensive backfield look really good because they're going to have a chance to make plays on balls quicker. They can gamble on routes. They can make more plays on contested balls because the ball has to come out quicker, or it comes out errant and the pass is harder to catch and it falls incomplete. So it's not a catchable ball, but the defensive back still gets to make the incomplete hand sign and put the seatbelt on, even if the pass skips like a rock to the receiver.
Dan, I'm getting way too many flashbacks right now. I can't stand that about defensive backs.
You know, there's nothing better than when they do the taunt and then they get the flag.
Yeah, that's very funny. That is very funny. I'm wondering if I'm going to trend in the other direction. I think I'm having a rebound take on defensive backs celebrating a ball that they had no impact on. And I think the reason why
no impact on.
I think the reason why is it is so hard to play defensive backs.
So
like
hard.
Every single rule in the world goes against defensive backs at this point. They never call offensive pass interference, even though it happens all the time.
Never.
You know what? I think I'm rebounding here. I think I might be okay with the defensive back celebrating.
I'm starting to think that texter's right with the whole. Brendan's on the wrong side.
Look, at the very least, I will say I get it. Like, I didn't even touch the dude, but it worked out for us.
I do like the seatbelt taunt. That's fairly new. I thought like they were putting
Who got penalized for that? Someone got penalized for that this last week or 2 weeks.
I thought at first they were like sheathing a sword.
No, man.
Like,
but you'd think you'd want to unsheath the
like
sword.
Sheathing the sword, but no, it's the seatbelt. I kind of like it. As taunts go, I like it better than the run the finger up under your nose and then signal first down.
Yeah.
Like I
don't get that one.
I don't either. I thought it was one thing. It's not. It's not a explicit thing that I kind of thought it was.
What explicit thing did you think it was?
I'll tell you off the air.
Moving on. But last thing we'll get to this. I feel bad for Trayvon Diggs because he's fun to watch. I will say that. But this kind of coincides with this, right? We're talking about the Eagles. We're talking about the Cowboys and how good they are. This was from ESPN today. Mina Kimes was on ESPN, and they were talking about, their power rankings. And Dan Orlovsky's got the Dolphins #1 in the AFC. Okay. And then this is what Mina Kimes had to say about that statement and just the AFC and kind of the hierarchy, if you will. And this is what she had to say.
Wait, sorry. I just want to be clear. I didn't misunderstand you. You don't have the Bengals over the Chiefs, do you?
I still have concerns about the Chiefs tackles. Both those tackles are really playing poorly, and they can't work the middle of the field right now.
Okay. I enjoy this annual tradition of coming on First Take every fall and getting to be the person who says, are we really going to doubt the Kansas City Chiefs? It's a great position to be in. Guys are like Lucy with the football every year, frankly. Dan's right about the tackles. They still have to figure that out. It's week 2. They're integrating them into the offense. Obviously, Travis Kelce coming off of the injury. I have learned my lesson not to question the progression of this Chiefs offense over the course of an entire season. They have the best quarterback in football. It's not particularly close. Part of the reason why I feel confident about them, and I want to be clear, I have Miami as #2, and they're, for all the reasons Dan said, truly terrifying. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, the Chiefs have the 5th best defense in the NFL. They've played 2 good teams. They actually played well on defense without Chris Jones. You threw Chris Jones back into the mix, and you saw that this group, which, by the way, was playing like a top 10 unit at the end of last season, has not lost a step. Chris Jones appears to be headed to be in that Defensive Player of the Year competition. Meanwhile, Miami's defense, I actually have some questions about. They got run over by the Chargers. Week 2, I thought the Patriots offense moved the ball well on them. Got to talk about both sides of the ball here. And right now, the Chiefs defense looks better, which I didn't really anticipate coming into the season necessarily. I trust that the offense will pick up the slack and do.
So that's what Mina Kimes had to say today. And this kind of goes with, are we talking right now after 2 games? Or are we talking about best team? And it kind of goes by the year long versus after 2 games. Because if you want to go with after 2 games, the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL. Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's
okay?
probably Cowboys, Dolphins.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. But are you going to tell me right now, am I going to say, am I going to go Mina Kimes here? And I'll pick the Kansas City Chiefs? Or are we doing, a 2-game, same thing. The Bengals right now, are you worried about the Bengals, or are we talking long-term? And it kind of doubles back to the college football playoff selection committee. I know it's one of your favorite things, Brendan. Do you go by the team, or do you go by result? Because if you go by the team, then Alabama and Georgia should make the playoff every year. They play such a difficult schedule that they don't have the results, right? And we talk about this on the show. At some point in time, results matter. So that's kind of the kind of back and forth I get with all of these shows in the morning and talking about power rankings. And my God, people love power rankings. That's what I have. And that's what the hard part about the college football playoff is. Do you go by just how good a team they are? Or do you go by, hey, results have to matter. Otherwise, why do we play the game?
Well, power rankings are popular because you don't have to think. You just say, oh, yes, I see a 1 next to this team. They are the best. I see a 32 next to this team. They are the worst. It's very easy to digest content.
Power rankings are hugely popular if you feel like you are a up-and-coming team that is being disrespected by the power rankings. Those are the people who respond to those the most. And then, if your team wins a championship, you quit caring about those kinds of things.
So, I think Dan Orlovsky doesn't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to takes because he's really bad at them. I actually like when he breaks down tape. I think he does a good job of it, and he's very energetic. When he is asked to give an opinion, it's generally really awful.
It's not great.
So he doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt here. Although, if you're just saying, like, if you're doing the power ranking thing, you're saying right now through 2 weeks on September 21st, going into week 3, who is the best team in the AFC right now? The answer is the Miami Dolphins. Like that's
probably the Ravens too.
Yeah. I mean, they're up there. The Chiefs would not be at the top. But if you're saying who, and Mina Kimes' argument here, which she is also correct about, who is the best team, who has proven that over the course of a full season, a full playoffs, and a Super Bowl right now, that they are better than the Chiefs? Nobody. So that is also correct there. And I think, arguing about whatever the producers at ESPN wanted to get out of that segment this morning is a fool's errand. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason to say that right now the Dolphins are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs because they have not proven it. They do not have that track record. But if you're saying through 2 weeks against the two opponents each has played, who's been the better team, it's fair to say it's the Dolphins. That's entirely fine. It's not fair to say the Bengals. If you're trying to argue,
Dan Orlovsky that I don't know.
Yeah,
they could be 0-3 here very quickly. We're going to get to what they mentioned about the offensive linemen. More specifically, the two newbies, the two tackles. We'll get to that in the 4 o'clock hour. We've got Rick Peterson coming up on our Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. But coming up next, well, either or over under here on 580 Sports. Under. All right. Now, this only counts if it becomes official. All right. All right.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Right now, the world knows that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are talking. All right. 15-year-old Jake thinks that's a big deal. Heck, 30-year-old.
39-year-old Jake Sept do as well.
Well, not anymore because it was more like 30-year-old Jake. That was a big deal. Because I've been married 5 years and I dated my wife for 4 years. So we're at 9 years now. So 30-year-old Jake talking big deal. So Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, they're talking. Over, under, once it's made official, 9 months that they'll be together.
I don't think we're ever going to get to that point.
Really?
No,
I don't
I'm
think
going to
so.
go under 2. I don't think.
So then it's an invalid.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a void bet.
Void bet? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna
so
void
you don't
that
think it'll
bet.
ever happen?
No, I don't think so.
So in this situation, if I went either or, do they become official or will they never become official?
No.
No?
No.
Do you want them to become official?
I don't care. Like I hate to poop on the segment. I do. I do not. I don't care.
No, you're not pooping on my parade.
Okay, well, good.
You're all
I'm
good.
glad. I want you to have your parade. I'm not going to attend it.
I hope Travis Kelce knows that if he does become in a relationship with the most popular person in the world, which, by the way, Dan, from the YouTube stream, what's the Pope's name? Nobody knows the Pope.
Francis.
Nobody knows that, though.
I know that. I just told you what it was.
If you went and asked anybody here what everybody knows the Pope, the title. I don't know if they know his individual name.
Well, I would
Anyways.
imagine our Catholic coworkers probably know.
Yeah, but Catholic, Lutheran, Protestant, Presbyterian, Methodist, all that, they know Taylor Swift. Anyways, they know Taylor Swift. So, lawyered. I just want Travis Kelce to know that if it doesn't work out, there's a good chance she's going to write a song about you. And it's going to be a hit because everything she touches is a hit, it seems like.
I did the research earlier today, though. That usually has worked out for dudes she's broken up with. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal's Best movie came out after they broke up.
So is this a reverse curse?
Here's the thing, though. You don't have to be dating Taylor Swift for her to write a song about you. She wrote a song about the Owl City guy. Remember Owl City? Fireflies?
That's a great song, by the way.
Yes. She wrote a song about that dude, like basically had a giant crush on him. The Owl City guy just missed it. Totally missed the signals.
Now that is relatable.
Yes.
We've all
fumbling the bag? Yes.
Been there before. Hey, the
Incredibly
main one is
familiar
we
with
didn't
that.
fumble the bag when we needed
Yeah,
to.
I was going to say, I mean, it all worked out pretty well.
Worked out in the end.
Okay.
No question for all three of us.
By the way, I am on Team Swift and Kelce. We just got to come up with a name.
How much football do you think? We know she's an Eagles fan.
Yeah, she's an Eagles fan. Go Birds.
Do you think like she, she's on tour? She's, like, you
Checking
think
out
she's ever?
scores?
Yeah, you think she's like ever
I bet
read
so.
a Bill Barnwell column?
No, not that. Not
you think
that,
she's
no.
familiar with DVOA?
Absolutely not. Let me ask you
She's
this:
got a Football Outsider subscription.
if she shows up to
She followed
Arrowhead,
Ben Baldwin on Twitter.
if she shows up at Arrowhead, it's gonna implode.
The only
Like just Arrowhead.
the only
will
thing I
erupt.
can think of that's similar was when Jessica Simpson was dating Tony Romo,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
okay.
they showed her in the box like all the time. And then they went on vacation when they had a bye week in the playoffs, and the Cowboys came back and they lost the next week.
And they went to Cabo.
She got blamed for it.
Yeah, but the difference is Jessica Simpson was never on the level of T Swift. If anything,
No.
what's going to happen is, T Swift didn't have a great performance because of Travis. T Swift will elevate Travis. You thought he was a good tight end now? Wait till, the Swifties.
Yeah, you ain't ready for that. You ain't ready for that group.
The Swifties are about as they're
Cutthroat.
they're a different beast.
I've always found that culture to be strange. Not her specifically, but people like the K-pop fans or the J-pop fans.
Or stands was what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're talking about people who are stands.
The
not fans.
Swifties. There are other
Is the
musicians.
name Stan, does that come from
Yes.
the Eminem song?
Yes,
The
yes.
Stan?
Directly. Yeah,
That's
Look
where it
at
comes
that.
from.
Eminem setting the culture trend.
Like I don't know. People who get up every single day and instead of like making friends or like showering have to go on Twitter and attack people who say, I didn't love this last album, and like make their entire personality attacking people because like they didn't love a music video.
Are you a Packers fan?
No, I mean, I love the Packers, but like if Dan comes in, he's like, man, Jordan loves a bum. I'm like, all right, well, I disagree.
I
but
don't have to worry about getting stabbed to death at my desk if I say, I think the Packers might lose this week.
And now I know you're not a real owner. You're not a ride or die for your team.
All right, listen. Do you have a share of your favorite team?
No.
Are you a shareholder of the Kansas City Chiefs?
I'm not allowed to. Not allowed to.
Not a real beater.
No, I can't. Like I don't have the money.
Get your money up. I have the money.
Yeah,
I got the piece of paper to prove it.
Yeah, because you're cheap.
I get the shareholder meeting tickets to prove it.
Your team is cheap, man. It doesn't cost much.
Sorry, your team's exclusionary. My team,
I know,
is inclusionary.
We're elitists. Yep. I am here for Team Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Sorry for derailing that segment, but
hey, look,
here we are.
I want to believe in love as much as the next guy, and if that's the road they choose to go down,
God
bless
the rhythm of your heart. That's all.
Tyler on YouTube says she is going to make sure we don't win another Super Bowl. I did watch an entire 2.5-minute video made by a Chiefs fan the other day. That was just her like holding her phone over her head while she laid on a bed.
My wife told me that about the whole like theory between
about how they're gonna start dating and then she's gonna intentionally screw him over and it's
during
gonna make
the
him
Super Bowl
play badly in the Super Bowl so the Eagles win the next time they face off.
Yeah,
I was like, this is just insane enough that maybe it could happen.
No, I got that sent to me by a few different people. Yeah. Coming up next, we're gonna talk all things high school sports. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. That's
I'm sure next. Pistol knows every Taylor Swift song. Sure, he's deep in the catalog.
We'll get to that next.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, it is the one, the only Rick Peterson, who covers all things high school sports and Washburn sports for topsports.news. Head on over to the website for all the best coverage of all things Topeka and Shawnee County. And you can find Pistol on Twitter as well at Peterson_Rick. All right, Pistol, before we get started today, Jake has been dying to ask you a question because this topic has been on his head all day. So I'm going to let Jake take the floor here to start this off.
Pistol, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Today, Travis Kelce made it official that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are indeed talking. They're not official yet. Can you name me one Taylor Swift song?
Ooh, not by name. I mean, no. I guess no, not by song name, and I hope that doesn't prevent me from dating her. But no, I do not.
But you know her songs, you just don't know a specific title. Okay.
I
know the tunes.
You've been in a few high school gyms in the last 10, 15 years. So I'm assuming you've probably heard more than you realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my next question is, do you know what the Pope's name is?
The Pope's name?
Yeah, what Pope what?
I don't know. 23. I'm not of that persuasion, Jake. I'm not a parochial guy. So no. What is it, by the way?
Francis. Pope Francis.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were wanting me number. Well, I certainly, if I can't do the number, I certainly can't do the name. So.
Jake was trying to determine who is more famous, Pistol, Taylor Swift or the Pope.
Oh, I'd say Taylor Swift in this country. Hey, guys, I'm a one-trick pony. I do sports, and that's about it. So
that's why you're the best at it.
And that was Paul Simon, by the way.
We're talking to Rick Peterson from topsports.news. That's our Lewis Toyota high school whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Pistol, I've been asking every week, so let's do the same thing here to lead things off. Your number one high school football storyline from week 3 was what?
Oh, shoot, Shawnee Heights. They were, they were down. They were 27-6. They were dead in the water and come back and win that game without arguably their best player on offense and one of their best players on defense. No, that was definitely a game that surprised me.
Let's start with that pair of schools then, Shawnee Heights and Seaman, and let's start with the victors from Shawnee Heights. What a game in general. You were there. We were there for that one. A blast of a game in the elements. Quarterbacks were showing out. I thought Max Huston for Seaman was great. Reiki Tooley for Shawnee Heights was obviously fantastic. Defenses came up with big plays for both sides. There's a lot of good games every year, and I know you've covered so many good ones. We've gotten to cover so many good ones as well, but I would imagine end of the season, that's going to stack up maybe as the best game we see this year.
Yeah, I would agree. And then also, I know when I was talking to Swifty, Jason Swift after the game, you could tell he was just so thrilled. I think that will go down as one he'll remember. And I think this is his 21st year at Shawnee Heights. And I think that's one he'll remember for a long, long time.
This Shawnee Heights team is absolutely for real, and if people weren't buying into them before, I have a hard time imagining they wouldn't be buying into them now. This is their first 3-0 start, Pistol, since they won a share of the Centennial League back in 2017. I mean, they are on fire. They're making it work offensively, defensively, and like you mentioned, missing a starting linebacker last week in Alex Dittman, missing maybe their best offensive player in Alan Bowman. This team, for me, Pistol, the sky is the limit because winning a game like that against Seaman, given the rest of their schedule, I don't see any reason why they can't be a contender in the UKC this year.
Here's what I like about them, Brendan. They got great linemen. They're very good up front, which I think is very important. Another thing is they got so many good receivers you can't cover them all. So I mean, they give Tooley just good options every single play. And I think Wakes is doing a credible job at running back and they're hopeful of getting Alan Bowman back and until they can get him back. So I think they got the things that you need, and very good defensively, very good up front, very good receivers, very good quarterback. So I think they're good.
As for Seaman, I mean, you can't ding them too much for a game that went to overtime and you end up losing by 3 points, and they played a great game for most of that contest as well. Do you think this sets them back at all, or are they still pretty much on the same path they were before?
Yeah, I think they're fine. I think what hurt them last week, and I haven't talked to Coach Swafford, but here's what I thought hurt them last week. When it all of a sudden got close, they hadn't been in a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had kicked the heck out of people the first 2 weeks. I think you have to have a close game before you know how to handle a close game. And, Coach Swafford may disagree, but that's kind of the take I had. I think they'll be fine because now they have had that close game, and they'll be ready to deal with it.
Let's move on to the Washburn Rural Junior Blues. They are also off to a 3-0 start to the season. They just whooped Piper last week, 51-15. I know the starters played a lot of that game for Washburn Rural, and they kept pouring it on in that one. But that brings us to one of the most anticipated games in all of Class 6A coming up tomorrow night. It'll be our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week. Washburn Rural hosting Manhattan at Bowen Glaze Stadium. And I don't know about you, Pistol, but I know we are fired up for this game.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a good game for a while now. I mean, there's been some the Manhattan and Rural and Junction City, that little threesome there has just had some great games between them, and I expect the same thing because I think I'm right. I think Rural might turn around and play Junction the very next week.
You are correct about that. Yeah, they will go on the road to play Junction on the 29th.
Yes. So here's your title right here these next 2 weeks.
What do you think is going to be the difference maker should Rural pull out the win in this one? I mean, it wouldn't even be a huge upset. This is a darn good Rural team. Both teams are 3-0, but of course, Manhattan coming off that state title. What do you think would be the X factor or the decision maker if Washburn Rural is the team that comes out on top?
A good start. I don't think there's any way if you get behind Manhattan, most games, most times you're not going to overcome that. So I think they have to, especially at home. I think it's very, very important to be able to get off to a good start. The other thing I think is, everybody knows about Brenton DeWeese, and Manhattan's obviously does, and they're going to make some things to try to cut him down a little bit. So the Rural really needs to have a potent running attack. We're
talking to Rick Peterson. It's the Lewis Toyota High School football and high school whip around. I almost said game of the week. High school whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. Go follow Pistol on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. And of course, topsports.news, the best source for all the best coverage of all of our local teams here in Topeka and Shawnee County. Let's move on to the Hayden Wildcats, another 3-0 team, Pistol, and they have just been blowing out their opponents. Wins by 34, 49, and then a 26-point win on the road against the tough Rossville team this past Friday. They're moving into district play. They'll take on Jeff West coming up on Friday night. And looking at the rest of this schedule, Pistol, it's not a complete pushover. You've got good programs like Perry LeCompton. You've got a good Holton team later on in the schedule. But I think it is certainly possible, and I'm sure Bill Arnold wouldn't want me to get ahead of myself, but I think it's certainly possible Hayden runs the table this year in the regular season.
Well, they'll certainly give themselves a chance. Yeah, I'm pretty much guaranteed you don't want to hear you say that, but no, I think Perry LeCompton's got a proud program. They'll put up a fight. Holton, by the time they play Hayden, they lost a lot off that great team last year, but by the time they get to Hayden, I think they'll be reloaded a little bit. They'll be ready to go, and that's one of those rivalry games that you never know what's going to happen. But I think the key for Hayden is just continue to build momentum, try to stay injury-free. I think they'll be trying to get a lot of young kids in there so they don't overwork the Finn Dunshies and the Jensen Strickles and those. But no, they got it wrong.
And I would think defensively, too, that's an area where, you only gave up 7 points in each of the first 2 weeks of your Hayden, 23 against Rossville last week. I would imagine any sort of loose ends on that side of the ball will probably be cleaned up in these next couple of games with the likes of Jeff West, Perry, and Royal Valley coming up as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still some things that Bill wants to work on and maybe some things they want to put in for that, late season push. But, hey, it's easier to do that when you're 3-0 than when you're 0-3 or 1-2. So
another 3-0 team in the city. We got a bunch of those so far this season, Pistol. Highland Park, and they are, I think it's fair to say, a heavy favorite going into their game on Friday night. They'll go on the road to Kansas City to take on J.C. Harmon. Harmon, obviously a program that has been through some tough times in recent years. But Highland Park, they just keep churning out wins, Pistol. Another double-digit point victory last week over Kansas City Sumner, also on the road. This team, this is normal business at this point, it feels like, for this Scots team under Jermaine Monroe, Pistol, that you go out there, you do your business, and it's not just hope for a win. This team expects to win these games at this point.
Well, and I credit Jermaine Monroe a lot with that, because he came in and the first thing he says is, okay, we're going to end this streak and then we're going to build a program. And I think obviously they ended the streak with a very good 6-3 season. And now they're building a program. And I was out there in preseason and their numbers are up. They are, really disciplined at practice. Again, credit to the coaches. And I think, hey, after an 8-year losing streak, they're going to go 4-0 to start the year for 2 years in a row.
Another team from District 501 going on the road coming up tomorrow night. Topeka High, they're 0-3 on the year. We saw them last Thursday when they took on Liberal at Hummer Sports Park, losing 51-13. There's no doubt, though, watching that team play up and down the field for 48 minutes, Pistol, they're trying. The effort is absolutely there. It's about cleaning some stuff up, building some momentum, and just building on those building blocks as a program. But they've got a huge game coming up tomorrow as they take on Emporia, 0-3 versus 0-3. This is a good opportunity for Topeka High to get that first win of the year. It'll be a challenge, but I kind of like Topeka High's chances if they can keep building on what they've been able to do the last 2 weeks as they've shown some of that growth.
Yeah, and I think it's a toss-up. I really think it's a toss-up, and I probably wouldn't even call it a toss-up if it was at Hummer. But the fact that it's at Welch Stadium, Emporia is going to be fired up, and I think whoever kind of takes control early, which is what Topeka High did last year in this game. So if they can take control early, I think they win this game.
Topeka West, to round out the 11-man teams in the city, they'll take on a Kansas City Piper team that has had some struggles. A couple times this year, they've been blown out already, both by Shawnee Heights and by Washburn Rural, a couple of city teams. West, obviously, we know what they're going through. We have talked about that at length so far. But this does feel like an opportunity, at the very least, going on the road to show some of what they've developed so far, to get halfway to the halfway point of the season and to show at least a little bit of growth, especially coming off of a tough game last week against DeSoto.
Well, scores, show some improvement, make some strides, and let's be honest. I mean, they got to be pointing towards that Turner game as a real chance to get a win. So you want to put yourself in the best position leading into that, and I think it's week 6 maybe. So just keep making some improvement. I really like what they're doing out there. It's just you got to start from the ground up and just go from there.
Last one I've got for you, Pistol. Some good 8-man action in the city coming up tomorrow night. Care Perryville, 2-1, 2 blowout wins in a row. They get Linden. That is a tough game. That is a really darn good Linden team under head coach Michael Massey. That's going to be a fun test, though, for Care Perryville.
I think whoever wins that game is probably going to win that district, or has a good chance to win that district. There's some other teams that could, but I think this is a big test for the Lions. And I think if they can compete and get it into the fourth quarter, particularly having had back-to-back games at the end of the halftime, I think they would feel good about not only their chances tomorrow night, but going forward.
Rick Peterson covers high school sports in Topeka and Shawnee County better than anyone, and he does so for TopSports.news. Check out, again, TopSports.news for all of that fantastic coverage of our local teams. You can also follow Pistol on Twitter, where his handle is @Peterson_Rick, and he joins us this time every Thursday for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. Pistol, will we see you at Bowling Glade Stadium tomorrow?
Yes, along with everybody else.
Yes,
sounds like it's going to be a full house.
I think the whole city is going to be at that game. Pistol, we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
That is Rick Peterson from TopSports.news. We cannot wait for that. Tomorrow night, Country 106.9, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kick. Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week between Washburn Rural and Manhattan. Let's get to a break for the news. 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talks coming up.
Righty Sports Talk. Hour number 3 here on this Thursday. Thanks for tagging along. No Royals baseball today.
Boo!
They're too busy winning.
We want the Royals. Yeah, more Royals baseball.
They're too busy winning.
Man, I know it runs contrary to the dumping on the Kansas City Royals.
They're winners.
You do when they're 52 and 102, but I miss baseball when it's gone, man. Like I get, this is the time of year, especially because my team rarely makes the playoffs. Obviously, we haven't had playoff baseball for the Royals since 2015. But this is the time of year I start to like already miss it. Like I miss the routine of it. I miss having a game on. I miss being able to drive around, catch a couple of innings on the radio. Like I miss the
Dan,
little things about baseball season.
Dan, you are a baseball like truther, man.
Truther.
Like you love baseball so much.
Major League
man.
Baseball was an inside job.
Yeah. Like Major League Baseball and Dan are honestly like PB&J. I will say that. Dan, I don't miss it at all.
Okay.
I
do.
But the only thing here, I will say this.
You only watch the Royals, though.
Correct. I'm a Royals fan, not a baseball fan.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Dan is a
baseball guy.
fan.
Yeah. Dan and Fulton are two of the most diehard baseball people that I've ever met.
Yeah, Fulton's still tweeting about the Royals.
Oh, you know he is, man. He's still going through it. But I will say this.
When's the last time we got an I hate it here?
It's
from
been
Fulton?
a while.
Been
Like
a
what?
while.
7 of 8.
Yeah. They got a chance to not set the record for the worst record in Royals history.
Maybe.
I thought that was a shoo-in. In fact, we were like 90% on odds makers by the time when Fulton left. He's like, yeah, 90%. They're going to lose 107 games. They only got 9 games left. They go 5-4.
Well, 5-4, they would tie it.
Yeah, that's fine. You just
Okay.
You can't. You can tie the worst record because then at least you're tied. Then you can say we weren't the worst team in Royals history.
Yeah.
We were just one of them.
Yep. And that's the difference.
That is.
That's the difference.
Well, I think that we're running dangerously close to distinction without difference.
You think any of the guys from the 05 Royals are going to pop champagne like the 72 Dolphins?
They should.
Ruben Gote popping bottles.
That's Ruben Gotye.
Yeah.
Gotye, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Andres Blanco.
Mark Tian.
Lighten up.
Emil Brown.
Tony Graffinino
Aaron
partying
Guile
somewhere.
cracking a cold one.
Yep. Gil Michi. I think was that the Gil first year? Maybe. Don't know.
No. Gil
No?
Mesh was not on that team.
06 then is when Gil came.
Yes, they had to go get a pitcher because they lost 106
Yep.
games.
And they got Gil Michi.
Maybe pass will be prologue and the Royals will go sign a real starting pitcher to pair with Reagan the Singer next year.
So we got that's the only thing that's into that, and Ken Bobby hit 30 home runs. That's about it.
No, Mesh was 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
25 looking real good.
Yeah, your 06 rotation. Oh my. Mark Redmond.
That's Royal All-Star Mark Redmond to you, Brendan.
Yeah, he pitched on the Rocktober 2007 team too.
Yeah.
There will be no Mark Redmond slander in this house.
That's All-Star Mark Redmond.
Redmond started the only game the Rockies lost when they went that like 21-22 there in September and October. Redmond was the only losing pitcher.
In 2006, he had a 5.71 ERA, and that was only the second worst of a full-time Royals starter. Scott Ellerton was in that rotation.
Not only also a Rocky great, but a Colorado native.
Oh. Runelvis Hernandez.
Yeah, he was good.
6.48 ERA. He was indeed not good.
That whole team stunk.
Luke Hudson. I'm going to be honest with you, dog. I remember Mark Redmond. I remember Scott Ellerton. I remember Runelvis Hernandez. I do not remember Luke Hudson. I could not tell you a single thing about
Their
him.
lineup wasn't terrible that year.
Oh, Dallas Perez also started 12 games that year for the Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Former
man.
Dodger,
This sucked
Odell
too.
Perez.
What are you talking about?
Give me their
This group
lineup.
sucked.
Give me their lineup.
All right. Catching John Buck.
Yeah, Bucky boy. I love him. John
OPS
Buck.
plus of 80.
Yeah.
Doug Minkavich.
Yeah, first
Eye
base.
chart.
That's Twins legend.
He caught the final out
Of the 2004 World Series.
2004 World Series. Yeah, he wouldn't give it back to the Red Sox. He was like, no, it's mine. He wouldn't give it back to the team. Grudzy.
Yep. Good player.
Minkavich and Grzelcyk on the same side of an
Yeah.
infield.
I feel so justified.
That has to be the greatest Scrabble score for
Of
the
all
right
time.
side of a
Yeah.
Major League infield in history.
Angel Baroa.
Angel Baroa.
Angel
Former
Baroa,
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
2003 Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Or-
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mark Teahan.
Yeah.
Emil Brown. Joey Gathright.
That's
One of the fastest men in baseball. You remember he jumped over the car?
A car.
Yeah. That was a viral video before we knew what a viral video
Yeah,
was.
he jumped over
He
a
had-
car, Brendan.
He had the second worst OPS plus on the team that year at 72. You know who's worse?
You're a right fielder.
No, Angel Baroa.
Oh.
52. Reggie Sanders.
Genuinely good player.
Yeah.
And Mike Sweeney.
No more.
Also,
Slander.
genuinely good player. Royals Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Sweeney was great. That was your main 9. However, David DeJesus also played 119 games that year,
Good ball player.
as did Esteban Herman.
Not good ball player.
Matt Stairs got 77 games.
Immaculate grid legend Matt Stairs.
College
Played for a lot of teams.
Jake Royals fan right here in peak form right now.
My favorite Royal catcher of all time was on that team. He got to play in 56 games, had 167 plate appearances.
Jason Kendall.
No, also a future Cub. I was thinking of a different past Cub, Paul Bacco.
Oh, all right. Well,
Also a great immaculate grid player, by the way, Paul Bacco.
this has been Royals talk here
This has been
today.
remembering some guys.
Yeah. So they got a chance.
Paul Bacco, by the way, played for 11 teams in 12 years.
Man, I got to get him into an immaculate
Legend.
grid. Royals are on today's grid. Maybe I could have used Paul Bacco.
Oh yeah, what's the cross section?
Let me dial it up real fast.
Here, real quick. We'll do it live here, and I'll give you mine.
Okay.
See how quick I can do it.
Okay.
Royal
So
and
the Royals and the Rockies were on today's grid.
okay.
Cursed.
Royals, Mets.
Matt Harvey.
Lucas Duda.
Lucas Duda was a Royal. That's
Yeah,
so
he
freaking
was.
funny.
Royals, Braves.
Solaire. That is World Series MVP Solaire.
Okay, 7% for Duda, 26% for Solaire.
Paul Bacco was a Brave.
Yes, he was. I should have used him today. Royals, Dodgers.
Also,
Great.
Paul Bacco.
Great. You can't use Paul Bacco twice. I win.
Well, we typed in.
He's typing
he
it
used
in.
He used Solaire
Yes.
for that one.
I'm
So
gonna-
for the Dodgers, use Paul Bacco.
I'm going to use Bacco here, 0.2%
Nice.
for Paul
Nice.
Bacco.
All right, this has been Talking Royals. I'm
What, you don't want to do the Rockies column with me?
No, not really.
I got a lousy
I'm gonna call it Doctor if we do that.
I got a lousy rarity score today because 3,000 strikeout pitchers are not easy to come by. And I just
No.
took the layups in that column.
Mets, Tom Seaver, Braves. He's used Mets, right? Who else was it? Braves,
Braves and Dodgers, yeah.
Maddox, and Dodgers.
We have
Scherzer.
We have a comment on YouTube from a gentleman. Or I assume a gentleman, might be a woman. That only uses the first initial. So C on YouTube. C says distinction without difference is terribly profound for a show talking about our Royals.
That's facts.
For the old school Royals fans out there, they will appreciate my grid today, where my Royal Dodger was Jose Lima, one of my all-time favorite players. My Royal Brave,
Time.
Skates, Lonnie Smith. And
Lonnie Smith was in Little Big League, I'm pretty sure.
my Royal Met was the guy traded for David Cohn, Ed Hearn.
Dan, you have issues. And I mean that.
Hey man,
I mean that like Dan and his like knowledge of baseball is incredible.
I've
Pretty
only
good.
been going through, like, they put up all the old ones now archived, so if there are ever ones you miss, you can go back and do like all 170 how many of there have been, and I've been trying to see how many of them I can put a Rocky into all nine squares. Total sicko behavior.
Yeah, you need to get.
But
some
you
medicine for that.
you knew who I was when you
Yeah.
invited me in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Do the Royals have a problem at tackle yet? Are you concerned? I'm not concerned as much with Juwan Taylor. I do think he will figure that out. I think he was profiled, to be honest with you. I think they set out and really made an example of him.
well, I mean, I would imagine you probably do have a tackle problem when you're not paying a tackle, and that's not a position in your sport, but you have to worry about them anyway. You said Royals tackle.
Well, correct.
Looking at me like I was
Jar.
Yeah, jar.
We should get a jar in here.
Margarita
glass.
We could do that.
Put a quarter in the glass.
I'm not worried about Taylor. I'm really not. I think he is going to be just fine. I think he'll get used to the cadence. He'll get used to everything. And he's good enough that he should never line up off the line, because he's good enough to just be 4 inches closer and you're going to be, you're going to be fine. So I think they just need to say, move your, what up. Okay. Move your big butt up on the line. You've got the athleticism and the skill set to do it. Donovan Smith, on the other hand, you're getting what you pay for right now. The Chiefs tried to go the veteran kind of high upside bargain, but also, it's kind of like that fridge that you got, kind of the used fridge, and you're willing to, to have to have some issues with it, but you got it at a great price, but it's still going to keep everything cold. It's going to work, but you might have to replace, a coil here or there, that type of thing. I think Donovan Smith, with the holding aspect of it. Now, we know why last year is because he wasn't healthy. Well, he's got a couple holding calls already. That just might be part of the offense this year, is that he's probably going to get a holding call every game.
He might be a little more penalty prone.
Yeah.
Because say what you will, there's a lot you can say about Orlando Brown Jr. as a player. He was not particularly penalty prone. Wasn't particularly mistake prone. Like, he could be beaten. There were certain kinds of players who gave him fits. We haven't really seen anybody, like, through the first 2 games, like, other than the penalties, which are obviously a big deal. Like, a holding penalty is a drive killer. When you have Patrick Mahomes, you can unkill a drive easier than most, but a holding penalty is a drive killer. And we've seen Donovan Smith have 1 in each of the first 2 games. Other than that, I would say he has performed very well, which I understand we're veering dangerously close to. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play when you say that about an offensive lineman regarding holding penalties? But I do think that the level of play has largely been good if he can clean up the mistakes.
So I'm looking at Pro Football Focus right now, because you can't break down tape on the radio. So can't do that for evaluation.
You could. It would just take a while to be very descriptive.
Yeah, and there aren't a lot of stats out there for linemen to rate stats like you have for rushers or receivers or passers. Donovan Smith is currently graded as having a slightly above average pass blocking grade according to Pro Football Focus. So the way theirs works, 60 is league average. Like, if you don't play, you get a 60 for your grade. His pass blocking grade is at a 62.1, so it's slightly above average. He is tied for the 5th most pressures allowed of any tackle so far this year, with 9. And there are tied with Andre Dillard, who's definitively not good. He plays for Tennessee. Calvin Anderson in New England, and Jedrick Wills, who's very good, usually. Not having a great start to the year. Good player for Cleveland. Donovan Smith has allowed 9 pressures. Only 4 players have allowed more than that. He also is tied for the 5th most penalties of any tackle so far this year, with 3 of them. So that, to me, when you put all that together, slightly above average overall, and again, PFF's not everything, but it's what we have. Slightly above average overall, too many pressures allowed, too many penalties relative to the rest of the league. That's telling me that when he is not making a mistake, he's actually been really good. The problem is there are just too many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's too many peaks and valleys.
And that's part of moving Taylor, or keeping Taylor at right tackle, and going out and getting a Donovan Smith. This is part of it, right? This is a guy who can he's like Tony Finau. He can make a ton of birdies, but boy, he's going to have that hockey stick or a snowman and every now and then. That's going to happen.
Is that a 7, a hockey stick?
Yeah, okay. Snowman.
I don't think I've ever heard it called a hockey stick.
Yeah, hockey stick.
I knew a snowman.
Yeah. And that's why it's just expectation. He's not going to be, oh gosh, who was that terrible? Joke wrote itself there. Who's that terrible old lineman for the Broncos? They've had a whole lot of
Bull.
Yeah, Garrett Bowles that one year was just so bad. he's not going to be that. But he's also not going to be, Mitchell Schwartz, where he's the second team all-pro type of guy.
It's obviously a stopgap solution.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's obviously, a 1 year, I think. And we talked about this back at the draft, right? Like, there were 3 things you felt like the Chiefs were going to address through the draft. And the one thing that they didn't really address at the top of the draft was offensive tackle. They took Wanya Morris.
And I think that's their hope.
And I think that's, a bit of a lottery ticket there. But if that doesn't look great in practice, or if that doesn't look great when they get into next year and they evaluate kind of where they're at and where they're at salary cap wise, where they might be drafting, maybe next year they take another swing at a first round offensive tackle.
So I don't think the tackle is an issue. I think he's going to get the cadence cleared up. That's more or less just, reps and getting it done. I think Juwan Taylor's going to be fine. I look more at the Donovan Smith side, but that's kind of what you get when you pay your left tackle $2 million or $6 million, or $3 million, something like that. I don't really know.
So the pass blocking for the tackles has been okay. Juwan Taylor actually grades out very well for pass blocking.
When he hasn't false started or lined up in the backfield, Juwan Taylor's been very good.
Yeah,
very good.
He is ranked solidly in the top. Yeah, he's in the top 33, top 32 offensive tackles in terms of pass blocking.
Yeah,
So he's been good.
He's been good.
Very solid there. I think longer term. I mean, the Chiefs are going to pass. We know they're going to pass. They're going to pass a lot. Running is, a throw-in, essentially, for a lot of this offense. I think maybe a bigger problem than the pass blocking long-term is the run blocking, because the Chiefs tackles aren't bad at it. They're awful at it. Is this all players in the NFL that have it? Yeah, among all offensive linemen, regardless of position. Currently, Juwan Taylor is 21st to last. There are close to 400 graded linemen so far.
That's not great.
4 of these players have not had a run blocking down yet. So actually, there are only 16 players worse in run block grade this year than Juwan Taylor. You know what's concerning? One of those is Donovan Smith.
Not great. Coming up, we will get to our What Is Wrong With You, and we'll hear from Matt Nagy, and Spags had some interesting things to say about Chris Jones. That'll be coming up here on 580 Sports.
What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk? I'm Brendan. He's Dan. We're with you for the rest of the show today. Didn't have What is Wrong with You yesterday. We came on a little bit late because of the Royals game. So we've got two new stories going head-to-head today. And we should remind you of our current winner for the week. Dan, I know it was your story if you want to recap this. The DoorDash stabbing.
Yeah, it was a lot happening. You had a couple and their child were running like DoorDashing together, I guess. They were delivering a DoorDash meal. Someone took exception to their use or not of their turn signal, chased them for several miles, cornered them at the entrance to a, subdivision, pulled a gun on them. That was a woman doing that. Then her husband showed up, reached through the driver's side window and started beating up the driver, ripped off his shirt. And then the driver's wife stabbed the guy in the arm 3 times with a pocket knife. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and none of it good.
Yeah.
I'll go first with our stories today. A man in Florida, you'll never believe it, but we're going to Florida. Orange County, Florida, specifically, where a man was arrested after officials accused him of stealing more than $9,000 worth of gas from Wawa locations around Orange County last year. Suspect Yerison Perez was charged with 3 counts of grand theft and 1 count of scheme to defraud on Friday. He was arrested on an active warrant back on September 8th. In fact, this was. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services announced the arrest on Friday. Perez was also arrested by the Orlando Police Department for fuel theft back on August 19th of 2022. Officials believe that Perez stole gas from 3 separate Wawas between June 17th and July 7th of 2022, stealing, get this, at least 1,300 gallons of fuel. He just kept stealing it endlessly. The Florida Department of Agricultural Services began investigating the mysterious fuel thefts late last year, and their investigation was aided by video evidence. The FDACS statement reads, quote, based on video evidence, business records, bank records, and other investigative techniques, Perez was positively identified as the suspect. This arrest is evidence that our continued collaboration with our law enforcement partners is successful in busting these criminals and should serve as a warning to anyone who thinks they can get away with fuel theft in our state. I did not realize how big of a deal fuel theft was in the state of Florida. $9,000 of gas, 1,300 gallons. You know how long it would take to get that much gas?
Yeah, long time.
Transport it, even over the course of 2 weeks.
I want to know how he stole the like, was he siphoning? Because like I typically pay at the pump.
Yeah, I do too.
So like I give them my credit card and then they charge it. I don't even know how you would steal gas. Like, do they have pumps anymore where you just pull up, fill up, and then they trust you to walk in and pay?
I can't imagine so. I would be shocked if that was the case.
I really want to know what his methods were. I feel like I'm missing a big detail in this story.
Stolen credit card?
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe. I don't know. 1,300 gallons of fuel is a ton. And
so much.
Again, this is literally the plot to an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they plan to increase their portfolio. They're going to make money by buying gasoline and then selling it back when it gets more expensive.
He obtained gas fraudulently, according to the press release.
What does it even mean? How do you get it fraudulently?
I don't know. I got more questions than answers with this story.
I guess it's a good thing we don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't want to like put it out there and then people think, oh, wait, I can get away with this too. Well, one, no, you can't.
Yeah. The Florida FDACS is going to be on your ass. I don't even know. I'm not going to Google it. Like, I'm not going to Google how do I steal gas, because then we're going to get a police officer coming to the radio station saying, hey, I need to talk to you.
Yes. Can you please not put that on your podcast? You need to take the YouTube down.
$9,000 of stolen gasoline.
That's a lot. For my story today, we're going to Buffalo. And we meet a man who told police he consumed several drugs on Sunday
All right.
at a Buffalo Bills tailgate, at which point he scaled a fence and decided to take an early visit to the brand new Buffalo Bills Stadium.
Oh.
Which is being built next to Highmark Stadium. I guess that's what it's called. I always think of it as Rich Stadium. What's the name you think of when you think of the Bills Stadium? Is it Ralph Wilson Stadium?
Yeah, I think of it as the Ralph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Ralph Wilson Stadium for a long time. I remember it being Rich Stadium when I first started watching football. So that's what I've always thought of.
It was New Era for like 2 years.
Yeah, it was New Era Stadium for a while. It's Highmark Stadium now. I guess Rich is a like grocery store chain.
Oh.
So yeah, Rich Stadium was what it was like back when they were going to Super Bowls. Anyhow, they're building a new stadium for the Bills, and it's going in next door.
Mhm.
And this fan decided he would take an early visit, except there's nothing there except a giant hole. And he fell down a 30-foot hole. Naked!
All right. My instant first question is, what drugs did he take?
My response is another question. What drugs didn't he take?
Yeah, well, that's fair too.
The 29-year-old man whose name was withheld was charged with misdemeanor trespassing, taken to Erie County Medical Center, and then transferred to Buffalo General Medical Center. He suffered cuts, including one to his forehead. He went inside a portable toilet, covered himself in the contents of the toilet, then exited the toilet, stripped naked, and jumped over the 10-foot fence of the construction site. The incident happened in the lead-up to the Bills' home opener against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we know Bills fans go hard. Like, that's their whole reputation, right? The Bills Mafia. I've got lots of takes about how odd I think it is and off-putting in some ways, how the media has glorified some of the worst, most destructive behavior of the Bills Mafia. But that's another topic for another day. Anyhow, the stadium construction site is across the street from the current stadium. The Erie County Sheriff's Office was notified of this incident about 12:18 p.m. So that would have been before kickoff, 1 p.m. kick Eastern time. They were informed by Erie Community College Security, which is responsible for the area outside the construction site. Someone had flagged down security to alert them of a person who appeared to be in distress. As security approached the man, he started running toward the construction site. He scaled the fence, he ran, and fell down one level of the pit. Then he got up, ran, and fell again down 30 feet. So he fell twice, the second time 30 feet. As the sheriff's office helicopter descended towards the scene, the man, as he laid in the pit, gave the peace sign to the crew with one hand and gave them a different sign that I can't do on the YouTube with the other hand.
This dude was absolutely zooted.
While at the construction site, the man told deputies he was under the influence of marijuana, cocaine, and LSD.
Oh, yeah, no, that tracks. That tracks. Listen, I don't want to be naked in public anyway. I don't want to fall down a 30-foot hole anyway. I really don't want to fall that far naked because there's a very real chance of some real disaster happening depending on what I fall on.
The people the man had been with prior to the game apparently, quote, just abandoned him and entered the stadium for the game. Gee, you think? Look, if I'm ready to go to the function and somebody turns up at the pregame and they're high on marijuana, cocaine, and LSD, I would leave without them too. I would say, buddy, you are not going to be a good time today. You're on your own.
Hey, wasn't that naked guy with you? Nope. No, he was not.
Never seen him before in my life.
I also, though, am the
not
kind
just naked, covered in the contents of a porta potty.
Yeah, that's like we can't talk anymore kind of territory. That's how gross it is. I would probably feel bad if I was one of those friends, though. There had to be one guy in the group, right? Said, man, should we get Ted? Like, should we go get him? Do we have a name for this guy, by the way? I just called him Ted.
No, we don't have a name.
Yeah, like, can someone go check on him? Like, should we take a look? And everyone else says, no, he was naked and covered in porta potty poop. Like, we can't do that.
Like, you gotta hose him off in the pit.
Yeah, this story today, we don't need the tiebreaker going to sobriety here. I don't care that this dude was zooted out of his mind. Like, this is so bad.
He fell 30 feet, and all that happened to him were a few cuts.
And maybe mashed potatoes for brains at this point.
Do you think that he might consider himself to be immortal?
Yes, absolutely.
At this point,
absolutely.
I was this high on this much stuff, and I fell 30 feet, and I didn't even break a bone. He might think he's what's his name from Bruce Willis from Unbreakable at this stage. He might really think he can't die.
So there's an old joke that I thought of with this story from a famous Dave Chappelle special where he talks about how he says, I'm not smoking weed anymore. I'm only smoking weed with white people because all they do when they get high is talk about other times that they got high. Can you imagine this dude's stories for the rest of his life? I fell down a 30-foot hole and I was out of my mind.
I got the good LSD and thought it was a good idea to smear feces on myself and then jump and visit the new Bills Stadium before it was built.
Let me tell you about Canadian acid.
Giving a whole new meaning to, I know it smelled crazy in there.
This dude's so gross, along with an idiot. That's the easy winner today. I think.
And I think it advances.
Yeah,
that's our new week. We've had a story dethrone the previous day's champion each day that we have done What Is Wrong With You so far this week. That's very rare.
Yeah,
in What Is Wrong With You annals.
Oh my God, that's so gross. That is our winner or loser in What Is Wrong With You. And as always, What Is Wrong With You is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Coming up on the other side of this timeout, we're going to hear from the Chiefs coordinators, both Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo. That's up next on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. We'll talk to Mitch Holthus coming up next hour about all things Chiefs versus Bears. I'm extremely excited to hear what Mitch has to say about what's going on at Hallis Hall. Cannot wait to hear from Mitch about that. But before we get to there, and before we get to our headlines to lead off the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from each of the Chiefs coordinators today. Offense and defense, anyway. No Dave Tobe. My apologies. But Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy. Let's start with the hotter unit right now, shall we? Let's start with Steve Spagnuolo and what he had to say about the white-hot Chiefs defense. Here is Steve Spagnuolo.
leading up to the Detroit game, you had kind of said you weren't sure maybe where this defense was, what you were good at, what you weren't good at.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're probably ahead of where you thought you might be at this point. I mean, is that fair to say? And also, if so, what are maybe some of the reasons for that?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, my expectations are never we're going to be here after 2 games. Will be there. It's always the hope that we're going to get better as we go. I'll tell you what I told them on Tuesday, that I'm proud of the way they played, and we got to just keep stacking those kind of games. You know, we kind of put it to bed real quickly on Tuesday, and we're on to Chicago now. We've done some good things. That doesn't mean that's going to continue, because it's a different challenge this week than it was last week. There's a whole different challenge, a lot of unknowns here, in our opinion. So hopefully the play in certain situational areas, hopefully that remains the same, because I think that's always really important. 3rd down, red zone. We probably haven't had as many turnovers as we would like to get. We still can probably shore up some tackling in areas here. And really generally overall in the run defense, it's not quite where we want it. I'm talking really mostly just 1st and 2nd down. So those are some of the things that we looked at and talked about on Tuesday, and as we got ready for this game.
When you say some unknowns this week, what
yeah. Well, so you take, listen, when you're at the beginning of the season and there's not a great high volume of number of plays to look at with this personnel group that we're facing, you go off of 2 games, that's one set eyes on what they've been doing. Then you go back to last year, which they did really, we're just not really sure which way they're going to go. We know they're talking, a couple of different things. So more than anything, we've kind of turned it back to us and just kind of execute what we do, and let's see what their plan is going into the game. That's what I mean by.
I understand you guys are great with next man up. When you watch the film and Chris is back, how do you quantify his impact on everything?
Yeah. Well, listen, Chris isn't an all-pro player, so I think he influences what offensive lines do. If anybody on either side of the ball in any type of football is going to concentrate assets to one guy, it should open things for other guys. I think that's happened a little bit in this last game for us, and hopefully that continues to happen, because guys like George and Mike and Felix, we need that. I thought Derek had a really good game. Knocking that ball down was really important. So having a player like Chris in there certainly opens up some things for the other guys.
Did it surprise you about what he was able to do?
In terms of, coming off the street and, not right. In some regards, no. I think we talked about this before he got back. He's always kept himself in great shape. So I really didn't worry about that part. We did fear the injury thing, just because your body's not trained for what you have to go through on a Sunday. So that was always a fear. But I thought Joe and Terry kind of managed it pretty good. The numbers came out about where we thought they should. I think he was in the 30s somewhere with numbers of plays. And we'll just see as we go forward, but we like having him out there.
We talked a little bit in training camp about you using Leo more in pass rushing scenarios.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's happening.
Yeah.
How has he matured in that? And, when he talked to us about working with Joe and Terry a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, every guy on the team, probably not just the team, will tell you that Leo might be the strongest pound for pound guy we got on the team. He's strong. I mean, real strong. You can see what he does to tight ends, and now he's even kind of brought that to tackles. He's always had a little bit of a pass rush instincts. He did a little bit of it at Wisconsin, kind of from off the ball, not on the ball. But there's a lot of places that we feel like we can use Leo, and we want to try to do that as much as we can. A little bit of it's dictated by what the offense is putting out there. But I'm really happy with what Leo's done, and we're going to keep trying to use him as much as we can. All those linebackers have done a nice job.
Yeah, I was going to say all those linebackers have kind of been shuffled in.
Yeah.
So Nick and Willie are still at the top of snaps, but it's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, we felt like, Brendan, myself, all the coaches felt like we acquired some players there at linebacker, Drew in particular, right? And then Jack's been here, and young Cam Jones who's doing really well on special teams. Plus Willie, we knew what we had. Leo, so that you looked at that room and said, there's some guys there that can make plays and help us. So let's find ways to get them on the field. I mean, you guys have seen Leo out there with Drew and Nick, so there's 3 linebackers there, and then it's been Willie and Leo and Nick. So we're kind of mix and matches. We'll do it as we go through the season and find spots that we can use those guys that'll help us effectively.
Seems to be some uncertainty with Nick this week. How ready is Drew if need be?
Well, I think Drew's. I mean, we're very fortunate we got Drew. He's played linebacker before. He's been in the system now a little bit. Got a couple games under his belt. You guys would have noticed in both games that we played, Drew. There was certain series in the first half there where Drew would go out and be the mic. He gave Nick some reps off, and we wanted to do that early because it was early in the season. Number one, and the second game it was because we were in Florida, and we knew that it could get long, and we all wanted to be fresh at the end of the game. And I think that will help Drew if he has to step in there.
3 times that they ended up throwing the ball out of the end zone, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But those all, I assume you think reflected the coverage, right? There was no place to put the ball.
Yeah, I thought our coverage on those particular downs was really good. I mean, they got Jay Reed one on a penalty, right? I thought that coverage was pretty tight, and he couldn't go anywhere else but there. And then LJ had one but the coverage was pretty much on point. I'm not going to say where they were, but there was a couple of holes that he could have found. And because maybe we made him move around a little bit. I know Chris made him move a couple of times, and that helps because it gets the quarterback off his progression. So all of it it still went back to this. It kind of all pieced together.
Is that something that you're allowing him to do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with both those guys. I mean, there are times when we just tell Chris, especially in a passing situation, line up where you want to line up on this down. And he does that. What's great is the other guys around him. Everybody right now is flexible enough that they can go to different spots. And listen, Nick tells a lot of people where to go and what to do. That's what I mean, but I mean that in a good way. I don't mean he's telling them what to do. You know what I'm saying? He helps them. But he's incredible in that regard. He can do a lot of things at one time. He's a multitasker. That's good as a Mike linebacker.
That is Steve Spagnuolo speaking a little bit earlier on today about the Chiefs defense. How about the offense and Matt Nagy? Let's hear from the Chiefs' new and also old offensive coordinator.
What are the coaching points with Juwan this week?
Well, we talked week 1 about some of the drops with the wideouts, emphasizing it, but yet not making it such a huge deal to where it impacts them again this week. And Juwan is a really, really good football player. He's a great person. He wants to be better. And so the only thing you can possibly do is just continue to just keep practicing with the cadence, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, which we are more nonverbal there in Jacksonville. So just keep working on it. And if there's times in practice where it happens, why did it happen and how do we fix it? And we know that, officials and other teams are looking for it. He knows that. We know that. So we just got to keep working at it. That's the only thing you can do.
He's had an issue in his career, obviously, when he was with Jacksonville. How much have you had to work with him up to this point about those kinds of things?
Yeah, Coach Heck's done a great job of being able to probably emphasize and just remind him at times, when you mix the cadence up verbally too. It's one thing when you go on 1 every play. It's another thing when you now change it up and you go on 2, on 3, et cetera, change your cadence up. So that's even more of a challenge. So staying positive with it. I think for sure, and Juwan knows this, it wasn't just him. Now, those false start penalties last week affected us and put us in 2nd and longs. But we had a lot of other penalties. We had a lot of other self-inflicted errors that we have to be better at in all phases. You know what I mean? So we look at that. We always start with us as coaches, like how can we put guys in best positions possible? And then when we do, how are you executing? And part of that is pre-snap is making sure there's no, false start penalties, illegal formations, et cetera. We had all of that last week. We had turnovers, but we also, as bad as it was, we won the football game because of great defense and situational football offensively last week. End of the half, we score a touchdown. Start of the 3rd quarter, we go down and have a nice drive. And then to end the game, we're in a 4-minute mode. We have a big play, 3rd and 6, make a big play, and then finish it with the ball. So situationally, that's the good. But we gotta be better so that we can help our defense and special teams to be all 3 phases.
Man, when you deal with young quarterbacks, and I'm not asking about Justin Fields because he said what he said yesterday about having too many things in his head, but you've been around a lot of young quarterbacks. How do you find the balance as a coordinator or a head coach to get them not to be thinking too much and get them to play?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into the answer to that question. I'll say, just for sake of time, that we live in this world of instant gratification right now. I'll start there. And so wherever we are, you see a lot of these young quarterbacks that come in that are forced to play and do well right away. You have the old stories of other quarterbacks 5, 10, 15 years ago, even some more recently that have had some time to sit and get to see. These NFL defenses are so much different than college. And so you need to, be able to adjust and adapt to the player and how they can grow. But you also got to be able to go through the highs and the lows together. And so to your point, I mean, it's in this league. It's not just Justin in Chicago. It's in this league in general. How do you do that, navigate through that and staying together, staying positive, and going through that with Patrick as a rookie, letting him see Alex living that. And then my experiences in Chicago with Mitchell, and, there's a lot to it, but yeah, I think staying together, being positive, but also understanding that instant gratification is real. So how do you get to that point?
Well, and along those exact lines, I mean, against Jacksonville, first half, you have 26 plays, 2 design runs, 24 passes.
Sure.
Obviously that's more out of balance than you usually are. Do you get in a point in the game in a situation like that where you're looking like, okay, wait a minute, maybe we're not doing what I want to do here?
Well, I ran into this question before because those numbers happen. And sometimes in these offenses with RPOs, you might have a run called and the ball gets thrown. And so there might be some more run calls that are in the play calling. And so that's that's always one that jumps out to me when you have a glaring stat like that. But at the same point in time, to your referral, you want to do whatever you can do to get yards. And so if it is running and it's working, then you're going to go ahead and call more runs naturally, set it up with play actions and screens. But if it's throwing too, we got a pretty good quarterback and we want the ball in his hands as well. So I don't think any of that was intentionally to really answer your question. None of it was intentional. I think it's just kind of a little bit of a flow. And when you look back at those first, 5 series in the first half, 4 of them weren't very good. So you just try to get a rhythm. There was no rhythm for us really in that game offensively. So we got to get back to getting rhythm, and whether that is running the football or whatever, we got to just figure out a way to do that as coaches and players, and I think we will.
Last one, Nick.
Yeah, Matt, I know you've been able to venture out on a couple Friday nights and kind of take the game in as a fan. What's that been like for you, and do you kind of catch yourself sometimes being like the down distance coordinator mindset?
Yeah, probably way too much. My wife has to chill me out. I love it because it's my 4 boys, and all these times growing up, all these little youth baseball games, football, basketball, and now it's like, it's high school. It really counts, so it's been fun. But without a doubt, I definitely gotta just go up in the top corner, stay away, and just drink have some sunflower seeds and coffee, and just shut up and let them go play and go win. So that's it. But it's fun, and his coaching staff has been phenomenal. They're great guys, and they do a great job.
That's Matt Nagy, Chiefs offensive coordinator. I'm glad he can enjoy youth sports for his kids again after the end of his tenure in Chicago, when Bears fans booed him at his kids' youth football game.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened, wasn't it?
Can you imagine how deranged you have to be to see, yeah, dude, he wasn't a good head coach and your team stunk. He's just a guy. Leave him alone away from that.
Let him be a human.
Especially in front of his kids, man.
You know what's equally deranged, though? Sunflower seeds and coffee.
Yeah,
that. Weird. Ugh.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I love both things very much. You see me every morning with my big old cup of mud.
Yeah.
I come in with my coffee every single morning. Yeah. Need that mud, brother. And I love sunflower seeds too. Habitual sunflower seed chewer, going back to my days in a dugout in Little League baseball. But I can't say that the thought of both of them together sounds all that appealing. I need something actually going to quench the thirst that I am creating for myself by eating these sunflower seeds, and coffee's not going to do that.
No, it's a weird. I mean, I don't like either. Seeds, whatever. I know Jake's a big seed guy. I'll pass on those. Coffee, I never drink. That's a little strange. I'm not sure about that one, but I guess it beats some alternatives, maybe. That does it for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Next hour, we will have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll look ahead to Thursday Night Football, and we'll talk to Mitch Holthus. All that's coming up after the news right here on 580 Sports Talk. Hey now, 1 hour left on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzynski, Dan Lucero here with you. Busy final hour of the show coming your way. We'll get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines here in just a matter of moments. We will also chat with the one and only Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, coming up a little bit later on this hour. If we have time, we're going to get to a Thursday Night Football preview as well. Plus, your texts, 9429. That is the text line number. And the YouTube comment section open. Head to youtube.com. Search 580 Sports Talk. If you are not already subscribed, we would love for you to subscribe. Be a part of our community online. Get to check out all of our daily show video streams. Post-game from K-State coming up on Saturday night. Dan will be at that game in Manhattan. Post-game from KU versus BYU in Lawrence. Yours truly will be at that game. We'll have recap videos up for both of those contests, plus Chiefs-Bears as well. Coming up on Sunday, we'll do our typical Chiefs instant reaction post-game show coming up once that game goes final on Sunday evening. All that's on our YouTube. Again, youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe, hang out with us in the comment section, and that is the best place to find all of our video content. Without further ado, let's get to a busy day of 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. And Dan, I'm going to start with today's Chiefs and Bears injury reports. For the Chiefs, a little bit better than yesterday. A couple of players with improving statuses. Let's start with Willie Gay. He missed yesterday's practice due to a quad contusion. He has since been upgraded. He was limited in practice today. That's definitely a good sign. His speed will be very valuable in the second level against Justin Fields' rushing attack coming up on Sunday. Also, Isaiah Pacheco with his bruised hamstring contusion. Apologies. Limited in practice. He was back and able to work a little bit today. Also a very good sign for him. The not so great signs. Nick Bolton with that ankle injury. DNP for the second day in a row. Richie James, not a surprise due to the MCL injury in his knee, did not practice for the second day in a row. Same for Kadarius Toney with his sprained toe. None of the three of them practiced. We should also know one other player who improved today. L'Jarius Sneed, limited yesterday. And for the first time this season, maybe, full participant in practice. 100% full go today for L'Jarius Sneed. That is a great sign on that knee that continues to heal up from the injury during training camp and the preseason. A few other players are listed, but were full participants, nothing serious. Should maybe note Jalen Watson was added to the injury report today. He was still a full participant, but he was not listed at all with a shoulder yesterday. So that might be something to monitor as we get into the back part of the practice week. As for the Chicago Bears, they had 3 players who did not go in practice today. This is going to lead us into what is going on in Lake Forest, Illinois, and the disaster that is the Chicago Bears right now in just a moment. All right, so we'll give you the full report. One player limited today. That's wide receiver Darnell Mooney dealing with a knee injury, and I was wrong. There was a second one. Linebacker Khalid Kareem. He also has a hip. That was not an issue yesterday. Popped up today. He was limited in practice. Josh Blackwell, reserve defensive back and special teamer. He's got a hamstring issue. He was limited yesterday, back in full today. No concern there. And starting center, I believe he's at center right now, or he might have moved to right guard, actually. Lucas Patrick for the Bears. He was sick yesterday, didn't practice, but he was back and good to go today. Tight end Mercedes Lewis, he never practices on Thursday. That has been his vet rest day since 2018, I think, when he started with the Packers. He did not practice today. He's going to be fine. He's going to be a good-to-go player for the Bears on Sunday. From there, your DNPs. Aside from Mercedes Lewis, Eddie Jackson, starting defensive back, starting safety, foot issue, has not participated the last 2 days. That's bad because while he has really fallen off after he got his big contract a few years ago, he is still better than anybody else that they have. So that's not good for the Bears. Also, offensive lineman Nate Davis, who is one of their big offseason signings this year, did not participate today for personal reasons, not rest, personal reasons. He has missed probably close to half the practice dates for the Bears since this season started, including some time in training camp due to personal issues that the front office refuses to talk about. And granted, if it is personal, then it is personal. And the public does not need to know exactly what is going on with Nate Davis that is causing him to miss some time. But it would probably behoove the team to say, hey, we're worried about his health, his physical health, his mental health. He's got other issues going on. We're not going to disclose it, but we're not worried about him. We're by his side, etc. Anything like that would be useful. They have not done that. And so we're still kind of up in the air. What is the personal issue that Nate Davis is dealing with? He did not participate in practice today. So that is your injury report on day 2 of practice week for Chiefs and Bears coming up Sunday afternoon at 3:25.
As you said, that's going to take us into as the world turns out at Hallis Hall.
As Lake Forest turns.
Very normal to have your general manager do a midweek press conference before week 3. Extremely normal and a sign that everything is good and fine and working totally like you expected it to.
Counterpoint, no, it's not.
Correct. That is actually correct. But that's what Ryan Poles did today, general manager of the Chicago Bears. He called an impromptu news conference today, voicing his support for coach Matt Eberflus and for quarterback Justin Fields, saying, quote, "No one in our entire building, none of our coaches see Fields as a finger pointer at all." Sure. Very likely story. Poles says, first and foremost, hit it straight on. We have adversity right now. Slow start, 0-2, not where you want to be. We've dealt with life issues. We've dealt with injuries, and that's all real, and it's part of what we do and what we've got to work with. To make it really, really clear, I know the outside noise, but no one in our building is panicking. No one is flinching at any situations. Not our owner, not our president, our head coach, not myself, none of our players. Everyone is focusing on solving the issues that we have so we can be a better football team.
Not to be crass, I don't think Virginia McCaskey is flinching at much of anything at this point in her life.
No, when you've been around as long as Virginia McCaskey, it takes a lot to make you flinch.
She has seen a lot of losing football in her life with her team. They've stunk for a very long time. And when they've been good, it has been very inconsistent, like 1 year here or there.
There are still no additional details regarding the sudden resignation yesterday of defensive coordinator Alan Williams. Ryan Poles refused to elaborate, just confirming the denial of the rumors that were out there yesterday about Hallis Hall being raided by the Alphabet Boys. That did not happen. And that was confirmed today. But nobody with the team will say anything more about Alan Williams's resignation. Maybe there is nothing more to be said, but
I doubt that.
It's a distraction either way. And if there is nothing more to be said, it's unfortunate that it's a distraction, but defensive coordinators don't just up and leave to spend more time with their families and focus on their health after 2 weeks. Like, that's not a thing that you deal with very often. So naturally, people are going to have questions. When those questions don't get answered, that only raises more questions. Also, there was footage today from Bears practice of Justin Fields going up to Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, and giving him a side hug.
Oh, bro hug.
Another thing that not even a bro hug, not even like the dap and then you pull in for the hug. No, it was like a side hug.
Can we get audio here real quick? We've got a clip from week 2. This past Sunday, Bears played the Buccaneers. This is linebacker Devin White of the Buccaneers talking to wide receiver DJ Moore of the Bears. Listen to what these two both had to say.
And I'm mistackling you, go gadget. They ain't using you right. What's up, baby?
They ain't using you right. Oh, tell me about it. Not great. Not great. DJ Moore at this point had been with the Bears for a game and a half. Yes. He was in game 2 with the Bears. Also, Devin White calling him Go-Go Gadget is an incredible nickname.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I hope more people call him that. This is a disaster. I mean, nobody is panicking. Why am I supposed to believe that? How in the world could I, or a Bears fan, believe nobody is panicking here? Defensive coordinator gone under the cover of night.
No, the surest way to feel like nobody is panicking is for the general manager to call an impromptu press conference midweek and tell me that no one is panicking. It's giving me Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun Files of the Police Squad vibes, standing in front of the fireworks factory. Please disperse. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, it's bad. This is great for the Chiefs, though. Nobody is talking about the Chiefs.
Yes.
Nobody. Again, well, we had the audio from Mina Kimes today, but that's it.
We talk about the Chiefs because it's what we do. But yeah, like on a national perspective, nobody's talking about, boy, the Chiefs got some issues they need to clean up. Or when's the Chiefs offense going to get right? Like, yeah, all the focus this week going into that matchup is going to be turmoil at Hallis Hall. And that is just fine. The Chiefs can, for once, work kind of under the radar a little bit. That might work in their favor.
Yeah, it really might. Next headline for me on our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today: a former Chief calls it a career. Former Chiefs guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif has announced he is retiring from the NFL. The Doctor, as he was accurately called, he was a fine player. He was a decent starter for many years in the NFL, but of course became even more famous during 2020 when he stepped away from football to work as an orderly at a hospital in his native Canada, and to serve during the pandemic and to serve the public and to do the public good. And for that, he was named the Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year in 2020. Incredibly admirable thing to do, and I imagine he is going to continue to pursue a career in medicine following his NFL playing career. In a statement on Instagram, Duvernay-Tardif wrote, quote, "I've had the chance to play in the NFL for 9 years, and even today, I sometimes can't believe I was able to experience this adventure. Being a professional athlete is a privilege as well as an extremely enriching human and personal experience. The victories, losses, and injuries have all been moments to learn how to win and lose as a team while managing a wide range of emotions." That is how it reads in part. He played with the Chiefs from 2015 to 2019, making 57 starts in 60 games. After not playing in 2020, the Chiefs traded him to the New York Jets middle of the 2021 season. In his career, 73 games, 65 career starts, and a Super Bowl 54 championship ring with the Chiefs. Pretty incredible career, all things considered. And he wasn't great when he came back with the Jets. To leave football to work at a hospital, not be doing regular football workouts for a year, then come back and actually start games for a team, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty remarkable. So hats off to Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and a 9-year NFL career and a Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs.
Yep, heck of a career, but he's got a whole lot more life to live that is going to be more impactful than anything he ever did on the gridiron. And just a fascinating individual, one of the most unique players, I think, in the history of the league. Remember, he petitioned the league to let him put the letters MD on the back of his jersey while an active player. Unfortunately, he never got the chance to do that. I always kind of wish he had.
Yeah.
But just one of the most unique NFL players probably ever, when you consider what he did off the field and what he accomplished while an active NFL player. And add to that the fact that he played at a very high level and helped the Chiefs win a championship. So salute to Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, one of the most singular players, I think you can say, in NFL history.
And even before he left the NFL, and I mean, he was studying and working on getting his MD while he was a player. He was McGill, which is like Canadian Harvard, pretty much.
Right.
And the fact that he was a Canadian football player. He played in U Sports, which is the Canadian NCAA. He wasn't a Canadian who came to the U.S. He came straight from Canadian football, was drafted. That does not happen very often. I saw there have only been ever 14 NFL players who were drafted from a Canadian school, and he's one of 14. Pretty incredible career.
Next headline for me, we'll do some NFL injury news. The big news of the day, we covered this when it broke in the 3 o'clock hour. The Dallas Cowboys lost star cornerback Trevon Diggs for the season after he tore his ACL at practice earlier today. MRI immediately confirmed the Cowboys' worst fears. He is out for the remainder of the season with that ACL injury. Also, believe they had another injury to their offensive line. Was it Travis, their center?
Frederick?
Yes, Travis Frederick injured his hamstring at practice today, and they're not sure. Yeah, they're not sure about the severity of that one. But Travis Frederick. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Frederick. It was Biadasz.
Oh, Tyler Biadasz. Yes.
Yeah, Tyler Biadasz. I'm sorry, Frederick. That's a few years back. He had been a Cowboy for some time. I was great player, but Tyler, not Travis. Tyler Biadasz injured his hamstring today at practice for the Cowboys. So that will bear watching moving forward. Also, Joe Burrow, again, day to day with his right calf injury, did not practice today. That's 2 consecutive days he's shown up as a DNP on the participation report for the Bengals. And today, Burrow told reporters that it may not be his choice as to whether he plays Monday night against the Los Angeles Rams. Burrow says, quote, "My job is to go out and play. That's what I'm preparing to do. You have to practice one day, maybe not full, but you've got to be running around throwing the ball. You just have to feel confident in your ability to go out and do the job." Head coach Zach Taylor said about him today, "Soreness is an issue right now, so giving him some time is best." Again, the backup is former Washington Husky Jake Browning. Practice squad quarterback Will Greer would probably be elevated to be the number 2 quarterback. Remember some college guys.
Yep.
If Burrow doesn't go, the Bengals obviously would be in big trouble against the Rams and would potentially fall to 0-3. I would not rule them out of making the playoffs after an 0-3 start. I know that has never happened in NFL history. We've also only had a 7-team playoff field in each conference for the last 2 years. It might be more possible after an 0-3 start to be able to recover sufficiently. And I think this team is talented enough to do it. But 0-3 is still a bad spot. And if you're Cincinnati and you had thoughts about winning that division or playing at home throughout the AFC playoffs, thoughts of that grow very dim indeed if you start 0-3.
The other thing, too, you don't know that Burrow is going to be good next week. Like, when does 0-3 become 0-4? Does it become 0-5? And at that point, I mean, you're cooked. You're not making the playoffs at that point in almost all likelihood. You know my stance. If he's not going to play this game, let him get fully healthy. And I know that sucks to punt on the year, but this is the franchise. You made him the highest paid player in the NFL ever for a reason. You want him to be leading you to the playoffs and to Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl victories for the next 10 plus years. Don't mess around with that. Don't goof around. Just take care of him. What comes with that comes with that. But I would not take any additional chances with him. A couple other real quick pieces of injury news from the NFL for me today. Bryce Young not going to play on Sunday against the Seahawks.
That worries me because I thought the Seahawks would beat up Bryce Young. I feel like Andy Dalton's going to sit in the pocket and just carve him off.
Andy Dalton is up there with probably the best backups you could have in the NFL right now. I really like Bryce Young, and I do think he's going to be a good player. He's going to get killed this year behind that offensive line. Yeah. It's rough, and don't have a lot of easy passing options in that group either. I don't hate their wide receiver room, but it's not exactly great either. So that is significant for that game coming up on Sunday. It feels like the Panthers and the Seahawks play 4 times every single season, I swear. Also, for tonight, Thursday Night Football, Brandon Ayuk likely not going to play, will likely not be active for the 49ers tonight.
That may mean an increased role for the rookie out of Michigan and Kansas City area native, Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, which would be very cool. He was so fun at Michigan.
He was.
Such a fun player. Any other headlines for you?
Nope.
With that, let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Let's preview Thursday Night Football, and then we will talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Do you remember approximately 4 minutes ago when you told us that Will Grier was on the practice squad for the Bengals?
Yes, I do. I do remember that.
Almost instantaneously, that is no longer true. Adam Schefter just tweeting a moment ago that the Patriots are signing Will Grier to their active roster.
That's really funny. Great timing.
That kind of came out of nowhere. Is Mac Jones hurt?
I don't think so.
I don't know who their backup is. It still Zappy or Malik Cunningham?
You remember they had that weird scenario where they only had one quarterback on the active roster
Oh,
for
yeah.
a while. Like they were gonna sign Matt Corral, and then that didn't happen.
Yeah. So it is currently listed as Bailey Zappi on ESPN. I didn't remember if he had been re-signed or what ended up being the situation.
Right.
Yeah, how strange. Yeah, Matt Corral on the exempt list. That's never good. Thursday night football coming up tonight. The San Francisco 49ers, even without Brandon Ayuk, are heavy favorites. Right now, I just saw the money line at DraftKings is minus 535. So if you wanted to bet on the 49ers tonight, you'd have to bet $535 to win 100. At FanDuel, it's even worse, 550. MGM was minus 600. Everybody's all over the Niners. 10.5 is your current spread. Short week. Home field advantage doesn't always mean as much on Thursday nights. Not having your number one receiver, because Debo is not really a true wide receiver. I still don't really see how the Giants... I don't see a clear path for the Giants winning this game because they also don't have their best offensive player.
Yeah, they don't have Saquon Barkley. And look...
In fact, they probably don't have their two best offensive players because Andrew Thomas is hurt.
Nick Bosa is going to wreck shop. There's no question about that. I think this game could get ugly. We've seen the Giants play 4 halves of football, and one of them was really great, and the other 3 have been disgusting. Just like anti-football almost. Yes. I would think that against an opponent who's up for it, who actually wants to win, unlike the opponent that allowed them to play a good half last week, we're not going to see great football from this Giants team. Tough to muster the pride on a short week on the road, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, man. 10.5 is a lot on a short week, but I don't know that I see it with this Giants team right now with no Saquon. Daniel Jones is indeed who we thought he is.
Yeah.
Brian Dable's a good coach, but I mean, I know they ended up winning because the Cardinals are terrible, but the Cardinals are terrible and they gave up 28 points and were getting dog walked for the first half hour of that game. So I don't know. You bet anything on this game?
I am not. Staying far away from Thursday night football. Weird stuff happens.
I have a really dumb parlay going on. So I got a tip. Well, I didn't get a tip. He wrote about this. Buddy of mine, Shane Jackson, who writes for the Lawrence Journal World, does some freelance sports betting writing as well. His college prop for tonight, the starting quarterback for Georgia State, let me get the name up here. Let me pull up the names because I want to make sure everyone gets their credit. It was essentially for the starting quarterback for Georgia State tonight to go over 1.5 touchdown passes. Darren Granger, that's his name. Darren Granger of Georgia State, over 1.5 touchdown passes and 49ers money line. Not great value.
No.
But I wanted to put together something I thought I could win. The total in the Coastal Carolina Georgia State game is 63. So there are going to be some points in that one.
What's Coastal? 6.5 point favorite?
5 at last check.
I think I'd lay the points with Coastal. If I were gonna get down on anything tonight, it'd be that.
In fact, it is dropping. Coastal now 4.5.
Interesting. Now I'm thinking stay away.
Considering?
Yeah. Bail.
I think that's our only Thursday night college game this week. Do you, on Thursdays, when the Chiefs play, it's obviously different because
it's the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs, and it's work for us. Do you split screen college and pro on Thursday nights?
Not typically. Honestly, there are times I don't even watch the Thursday night NFL game.
Yeah.
Like, this might be a night. Like, my birthday's tomorrow. My wife and I are going out to dinner.
Yeah,
because I got I'm doing stuff tomorrow night. So we're going out to dinner tonight to celebrate the night early. And so I probably won't. I might not even turn on the Thursday night game if it's non-competitive by the time we get back home, which is entirely possible. So I'll check in on the college game, but no, it's not like a, babe, let's go to the basement, and I got to make sure I got 2 screens for Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, and 49ers Giants tonight.
Looking ahead to the Thursday night games in the coming weeks, some of them are legitimately interesting. Next week is Lions-Packers at Lambeau. That'll be a good game. We'll have high school football that night, but that'll be a great game. Week 6, that's the Chiefs. They play the Broncos. I think Saints-Jags, week 7, there's some intrigue there. If the Bucks keep winning, Bucks-Bills in week 8 could be interesting. Week 9 will set football back 60 years. It's Titans-Steelers that week.
Oh, no.
Week 5, you might have noticed I jumped over week 5, in a rematch of the second worst played game of 2022. Only ahead of, what was it, Broncos-Colts?
Yes.
Only behind that one. Bears at Commanders.
They put that on Thursday night again?
Thursday night football again. Al Michaels is going to commit a crime.
Yeah, you know he
game.
threw something across the room when he saw that week 5 assignment.
Yeah.
He said, I got to watch this crap again?
Herbie's got to be thinking, like, man, I'm going to use my one free pass. Like, I got I got college games to get ready for. I got to do college football live hits. I can't do that one. Yeah, that's your week 5 Thursday night football game.
No, I can tell you right now, I'm going to find something else to do on that Thursday night.
Like, some of the, I've just discovered, Mr. President, a second Chicago Bears game has hit the Thursday night schedule.
You're telling me this for the first time?
They will play the Panthers week 10.
I'm just hearing this. You're just telling me that I'm hearing this now for the first time.
Panthers Bears week 10 Thursday night football.
Gross.
That is going to be the worst. I don't know. Commanders Bears is going to be pretty rough too, but that's gross. Anyway, tonight, Giants 49ers. Let's get to a break. Mitch Holthus will join us next on 580 Sports Talk. Arrowhead Stadium coming up on Sunday afternoon. And to preview that game, to talk all things Chiefs, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joins us here on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored as always by our friends at both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, we will talk plenty of Chiefs-specific news, information, previews in just a moment. But I do have to ask, because most of the football world going into this game is not talking about the reigning Super Bowl champions returning home, coming off of an important win against Jacksonville. They're talking about their opponents who have been pretty dreadful so far this year, the Bears, because what's going on at Hallis Hall, north of Chicago, can only be described, I think, as a calamity. I mean, it is a mess. I know you've seen all the headlines and all the news coming out of there. What do you make of just the nonsense, the crazy news that has come out endlessly the last few days from Lake Forest, Illinois?
Well, first of all, we don't know all of the facts.
Mm-hmm.
It appears there's some erroneous reports about some things, particularly referencing Coach Williams and his resignation. But I mean, Ryan Poles is their general manager. He was with us for 13 seasons. He came with Scott Pioli. He survived when the turnover happened or the changeover happened in 2013. So I'll see Ryan on Sunday. I've not reached out to him, but it's just, I mean, we've been there too and done that. I find no pleasure in it. I find it almost kind of hurts because we've also been there. But it's also one of those deals where, what is going on? The left tackle goes on IR. Fields said what he said. I mean, it's there for all to hear. Then he tried to, backtrack it and have his second news conference. There's some things they've got to try to get grips on there. And Poles addressed it today. I did see the transcript of his message. And it's a proud franchise, but they're sitting here in the second year of Matt Eberflus. And if this thing goes off the rails, they were 3-14 last year. If it goes off the rails again this year, you just wonder if there's even going to be a third year for him or even Ryan. I mean, it's kind of sad that the Chiefs have got to get ready to play these guys. It's going to be one of the questions I asked Coach Reed on pregame. One of his mantras, you guys, is eliminate distractions.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs have to be careful this week not to make another team's series of distractions one of your own, if that makes sense. That has nothing to do with the Chiefs, what's going on up there. And so you just got to handle your own business and can't be swayed one way or the other or be distracted of what's going on in Chicago.
And when it comes to the Chiefs and handling their own business and not letting those other distractions then impact I feel like we didn't get really anywhere close to the full 100% version of this year's Kansas City Chiefs this past weekend. And yet, against what we think will be a pretty good Jacksonville Jaguars team, they still come away with an 8-point win, low scoring. The defense was absolutely fantastic. The offense struggled a little bit, but did have its moments and showed, why they are the Chiefs and why they've been so good for so long now. What was kind of the standout thing about that game to you? Did you focus more on the positive that, hey, things are swinging back from where they were week one and this team is on the up and up? Or was it more so, wow, there are still a number of things this offense has to work on, specifically the offense, because the defense has been great?
This was a really, 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 really good win. Jacksonville still has a chance of being the 1 seed in the AFC. That is a very good team. One concern I have about our league and with fans is, particularly since the Chiefs have been such a good offensive team, or they play fantasy football, if it's not a 35-point game and Mahomes throws for 400 yards, they think it's some sort of failure. Now, I'm not dumb. I mean, I watched the video. In fact, on the Minute with Mitch that WIBW television runs last night, I address what's called my hidden yards that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. The Chiefs have a lot to clean up here, but they did score at the end of the second quarter on a great drive. Same thing, short field drive, third quarter to get up there. But this felt like a playoff game, a slug-it-out playoff game. It was not going to be pretty. And if people don't think that was a tremendous win, then they severely undervalued the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let's get to the defense first here, where we break things down a little bit more specifically. And look, we talked about it just last week. You told me, hey, do not put too many expectations on Chris Jones because he hasn't played football. He hasn't been practicing for very long. You can't expect him to be Superman and put that cape on his first game back after just a short week of practice. And I think that is I don't know if anyone thought we would see anything close to what we saw out of him against Jacksonville. I don't know if he'll put up the same kind of gaudy numbers and gaudy tape performances this week against the Bears. But man, Mitch, I don't know if we could have hoped for anything better out of the hopeful defensive player of the year than what we saw last week.
I was wrong. There is no way I thought that Chris Jones would have that big of impact on that game and play 34 snaps to do so on defense. That being said, it wasn't just all about Chris Jones. George Karlaftis was outstanding. Mike Dana is so underrated in what he gets done, whether he's making a splash play or not. Trent McDuffie was fabulous in this game. I don't know if you heard him on the Chiefs Kingdom show. It was on your air on Monday night. But Trent, I asked him especially about the third down play against Zay Jones, where he's going to play the inside slot in man-to-man. And then you throw in Nick Bolton's play. Leo Chenal had his best game by far. I just saw Leo a little bit ago before I went on the air with you and chatted with him a little bit. He's playing with a lot of confidence. But guys, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a very good team, got the ball at the 17 on a sudden change. I don't care if you're Washburn Rural or Silver Lake, a sudden change for a defense is a enormous challenge, especially when the team gets the ball inside your 20. And the defense gets a stop, then a fumble punt, and Richie James fumbles it, and here they are. They're going to run back out. It's just like you getting the fire out as a fireman or firewoman, and you go back to the firehouse, and before you get dog food for the Dalmatian, you got another 5-alarm fire within seconds. The Chiefs held there to a field goal. First down and 10 on another series for Jacksonville, field goal. First down and goal to go at the 1, field goal. 17-14-1 to start or to have a new series of downs. In this day and age of the National Football League, that is darn near impossible to hold teams to 0 touchdowns. That was a big thing for this Chiefs defense to dig their heels in 3 occasions. 1 would have been a good deal. 2 would have been outstanding. 3 would have been almost too much to ask for. But this defense is gaining confidence.
Mitch Holthus is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. He joins us Thursdays throughout the NFL season, courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Joining us here on the Floating Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Mitch, we talked about a little bit there, the pass rush, and obviously Chris Jones's return juices the pass rush. There's no doubt about that. But I thought the play on the back end was just as notable for the Chiefs in that win over Jacksonville. This secondary, so young, so many second-year guys as part of this secondary, the rookie, the corners who were all rookies last year, Brian Cook, who was a rookie last year. What have you seen from them the first 2 weeks, and what is most encouraging about the way that they have played against 2 passing attacks that project to be among the most explosive passing attacks the Chiefs will confront all year?
Yeah, the Lions were top 5 last year, and the Jags weren't far behind them. It goes back to our training camp reports toward the end. I remember exactly where I was when I did the report with you guys, because the thesis was the defensive backs overall. This is like our last week of the reports. And Andy Reid talking about how the windows have narrowed. I saw it throughout training camp in the red zone. They stopped Mahomes maybe over 50% of the time. And people thought, gosh, this offense is struggling, and maybe in a way it was and has been. But defensively was part of it too. And Andy Reid said the windows that used to be half open are now only open by a couple of inches. We saw that in the Jacksonville game. Let's just take the play of Trent McDuffie. He prevents 2 touchdowns in this game. But the big one was after the sudden change. The Jags have third down, I think 6. They run a spread. They got Zay Jones in a left slot, and McDuffie's on him man-to-man. Now, McDuffie said on the show the other night he was the only one to have man-to-man. It's a combo coverage. And so McDuffie knew that, hey, he's got to play Zay Jones in traffic here. And he had studied his video and realized, hey, they've got 2 or 3 things they're going to do out of this, and one of them probably will be the corner route. So he does his study. He plays his technique. And then he does so without getting a defensive pass interference. He basically kept the window so narrow, there was no way that Trevor Lawrence could thread the football into Zay Jones. So Zay Jones catches it out of bounds. It's incomplete. We want to put that on Zay Jones, but we don't give Trent McDuffie enough credit. Go back and watch the play. It's big time. And so that's an example. Snead also in this game, but the windows are more narrow this year for enemy quarterbacks thread the ball into their would-be receivers than they have been at any time that Steve Spagnuolo has been defensive coordinator.
Looking ahead now to this Sunday as the Chicago Bears come to town, and we've touched on the off-field dysfunction
for the Bears that they are experiencing so far. But sometimes that's all just noise if you can extinguish it with good play on the field. And the Bears haven't been able to do that out to an 0-2 start. Where do you look at this matchup for the Chiefs and see the biggest advantage that the Chiefs need to press in this game to make sure that they don't give a struggling team a lifeline?
There's 2 straight weeks, the advantage was the same in the Jacksonville game because the Jacksonville offensive line had Cam Robinson, who had been suspended, the left tackle, and Scherf, the right guard, was beaten up, and so was the center, Fortner. That Jacksonville offensive line was susceptible to all the defensive talk that we just mentioned. This Chicago offensive line just put their left tackle on IR. They've allowed 10 sacks in the first 2 games. Only Houston has allowed more with 11. And the Chiefs have to be ready for Justin Fields to run the ball like he did last year at almost historic levels when he ran for 1,143 yards as a quarterback. The second best in NFL history in a single season. Only Lamar Jackson had a better year. But I do think the Chiefs can decimate the line of scrimmage with Spags in what he does as far as structure and creativity, and then all of the people we've talked about. We haven't talked about Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who had his best game. He continues to have his best game every week. I'm just waiting for him to break through to have some like splash plays. But I think that's the biggest advantage the Chiefs have in this game. And then the ability to maybe attack a young secondary for the Bears. The safeties are experienced, but they're beaten up too. Both those guys left the field against Tampa Bay. And I think they're going to play. Eddie Jackson's a good player, but their corners are really young. And if you don't play the Chiefs with regularity, they're a hard team to play. And the Bears only have 1 sack. That's Ngakoue, right? They got Yannick Ngakoue. But I think the advantage is for the Chiefs to attack the Bears. Numbers are hashed to boundary, back third, and then just decimate the line of scrimmage when the Bears have the ball.
Talking to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs here on 580 Sports Talk. Mitch joins us every Thursday at this time during the Chiefs season, brought to you by both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. When it comes to this Chiefs defense against the Bears offense, Mitch, and the propensity for Justin Fields to take off and run, and as much as it is criticized, and as a Packers fan, that includes from me, but he's darn good at it when he does. You just mentioned his stats a moment ago. So with that in mind, how big of a deal is it that Nick Bolton and Willie Gay are both a little banged up this week?
Big deal. Real big deal. Now, we'll see how this progresses. No definitive decisions have made at 5:49 on Thursday night going into the Sunday game, but it's potentially a big deal. Now, I'm going to give you nuggets on Fields. You ready for some of these?
Let's do it.
All right. Last year, 73 times Fields had designed runs. It looks like he's scrambling around. These are designed runs. Now, that was part of their weaponry last year. This year, they appear to be confused. It was like they went in the offseason, they go, we've got to make him a pocket passer. It's somewhat what the Ravens have done or tried to do with Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens decided, hey, he is what he is. We're going to try to win games this way, which is what I think that Justin Fields and the Bears will do this week. They will revert back to 2022. And they have other runners which help them. Khalil Herbert, former KU Jayhawk, Virginia Tech Hokie. I like him. I respect him. He's a good dude and a good player. But then Roschon Johnson's there too. How did Texas lose any games where they had Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson? Somebody tell me that. There's going to be, I don't care if they ran it every time. Those two dudes were there at the same time. Okay. That being said, here's one of your other stats of the night. Last year, Justin Fields had 9 runs where he was clocked over 20 miles an hour on the run. Only Tyreek Hill, who had 10, had more plays of 20 miles an hour or more than Justin Fields, who had 9. So if Fields gets a full head of steam and going, he's like the 300-meter hurdler or the 400-meter hurdler that gets that last 200 meters. He is just a menace. And that's what Justin Fields can do. Now, we know it's the winningest quarterback after 80-some starts against a losingest guy. He's 5-22, which is somewhat amazing. He had 1,125 yards. I mentioned only he, Lamar Jackson, and Michael Vick have had that many yards by a quarterback in a single season, and yet they went 3-14. So I know what the Bears are doing. They go, we just can't do that all the time. If we're going to win, he's got to throw the ball some. Now they go get DJ. He's a heck of a receiver, right? He can play. They've got some capable receivers. They worked hard in the offseason to put better players around him, Justin Fields, I should say, at quarterback. But to go get DJ Moore is a big deal. Chase Claypool's had some big moments. Mooney's been a consistent receiver for him. And yet, nothing's happening so far. This has been just a clunk job in the first 2 weeks. I think they revert back to 2022 this week. And you're going to get a whole lot of Justin Fields running the ball, and with Herbert and some Johnson right behind him.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us every Thursday at this time during Chiefs season to preview the upcoming Chiefs game. This week, it is Chiefs versus Bears, 3:25 kickoff on Sunday from Arrowhead Stadium. And, of course, you can hear that game right here on 580 WIBW. Mitch, we appreciate the time as always, my friend. Thanks so much for stopping by, hanging out with us, and enjoy the game coming up on Sunday and the return to Kansas City.
2 more quick nuggets. The Chiefs had 11 different guys catch the ball, including Donovan Jones last week. That's 11 different receivers since the beginning of 2022. It's happened 4 times. You ready for this? The rest of the league, 31 teams, have done it a combined 3 times.
Wow.
Crazy. And if the Bears give up 25 or more points this week, it will be the 13th straight time they've done so. That will tie an all-time pro football record with the 64 Denver Broncos.
Oof.
And remember the big trade they made last year when they dumped Roquan Smith. Remember that one?
I do.
Since they made that trade, the Bears are 0-11 and giving up an average of 33 points a game.
Oof. Yikes. Not looking great for Chicago. We're hoping for the best for the Chiefs. Thanks so much, Mitch.
All right, boys. See you.
That is the best of the best. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports. How could it possibly get more bleak for the Bears?
Roquan Smith must be Mike Singletary and Dick Butkus and Ray Lewis all wrapped up into one player.
Dog. That's so bad. Well, and two, at that same time, they gave up Robert Quinn, who hasn't really done anything since, but they gave up their best edge rusher that they had left and their best overall defensive player. They really haven't. They replaced him with Tremaine Edmonds? Sick. Nice. That's all they have. Yikes. Mitch, as always, fantastic stuff. Talking all things Chiefs. And again, you'll be able to hear Chiefs Bears right here. 2 o'clock pregame, 3:25 kick Sunday on 580 WIBW. Let's get to one final break. We'll come on back, wrap things up with the final word here on 580 Sports Talk.
favor. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
Today on What Is Wrong With You? No, it's time for the final word here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan closing down the shop for you. Dan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. That's the new one. I've never done that before. I've made some mistakes. That's the first time I made that mistake.
That was really funny.
Go back and listen to the top of the show today, the very first segment, the 2 o'clock hour on the podcast. If you want some proof that the Chiefs, when they are heavy favorites, they take care of business. The games might be closer than you like, but the Chiefs have won 14 straight games as a double-digit favorite. They're 21-2 as a double-digit favorite in the Mahomes era. Feel confident going into Sunday.
When we talked to Paul Myerberg earlier today about KU versus BYU, he said, even though BYU beat Arkansas last week, KU should actually be encouraged about this game coming up on Saturday after watching how BYU played in that game last weekend. I think Paul did it. I think I'm all the way in. I think all of my inhibitions are gone. I'm all in on KU taking care of business at home this week, as if that was ever really going to be in doubt. That does it for 580 Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow at 2. We'll talk to Matt and Derek. Desmond Purnell will have of K-State and Topeka native. We will also talk to people who cover both BYU and UCF to preview this weekend's games. That's tomorrow from 2 until 6. For Jake Laban, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This is 580 Sports Talk.